Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun. We are here. Presidential debate. I am still a little bit like, I never thought this day would come. But we're here, we're doing it. We'll come over here to the main screen. I am going to be streaming it out in here. So you'll be able to listen in on this stream. It's on C-SPAN. That's what we're going to watch it on. And I'm going to keep it off until they actually start, though. And yeah, we should be good. Let's go out and post a couple of links here. There's the link. I'll give it to these guys. There we go. All right. So, what can we say? We got about 10 minutes here. I guess I want to reiterate some of the things I was saying in the, past 2 days during my live streams, that we've got a pretty, there's a lot of high expectations around this debate. A lot of people are going to try and say that Donald Trump has raised the expectations for himself too high and this sort of thing. But I think one of the things you got to remember is that it's really only us pundits that are looking at stuff like that. So I don't think that that's a major factor for people that are tuning in and watching and haven't really been paying attention to the debate, right? The things that are going to matter are going to be how each candidate looks on stage, whether or not there's any major fumbles, this sort of a thing. And it is going to be a brawl. Now, there was some news I was seeing, and I didn't really see anything come of it, but apparently Joe Biden was refusing to submit to an ear inspection to make sure that he didn't have a speaker in his ear so that people could talk to him. They also wanted to have breaks every 30 minutes. So this seems like a really bizarre thing to be going over during the pre-debate negotiation. But there it is. That's what's been happening. I haven't seen anything new from that though, so I don't know if. Yeah, kind of interesting. I think we should come in here and I'm gonna pop out chat for us, so that we got a little bit. There's Lucas. How are you today? How was your trading today? Because trading was so rough, man. I found trading to be so rough today. This is the most I've seen watching a single stream live. 469,000. There's going to be 120 million people. Can you believe that? 120 million people are going to watch this. Apparently. Oh, really choppy, but I managed 3 points. Hey, 3 points isn't too bad. It really was really choppy. I'm really, I'm going to be interested. It's going to be interesting to see what they do tomorrow, because Monday, Tuesday were really, really bad. after the debate, does it go back to normal, or is there more to come from this? Because it was last Monday too was really frustrating. Last Monday and Tuesday were really frustrating. Let's see here. Do live chat like that. Let's see here. The markets did try to. I mean, they came back to where they opened this morning. It was kind of interesting because the sell I thought was pretty dramatic, but in the end, it didn't end up being a whole lot, right? I always remember Ace's teachings. You can make a living on just 2 points a day. I've really been going for too much these days. I got so used to those runners. It always happens to me, right? You get so used to the runners going for you, and then you don't start getting them. Yeah. Mm-mm-mm. I'm not really actually seeing that much activity about this on Twitter yet. Let's see here. I'll move this here. We'll put Discord over here. I mean, nothing's better than runners. I was playing from the long side today, and I knew it was weak, so I had to keep a short leash. Yeah, I have to say that whole drama up there at the top was like really weird because there was definitely weakness to it, and it flipped around like crazy hard. I was really surprised how quickly it went down to the lows and just blew up, you know. But it wasn't like there was like hard resistance or anything up there. It was just like it just didn't go, you know. It caught me by surprise for sure. Okay, so we got about 2 minutes. Let's see, Donald Trump's entourage is going into this. This whole setup that they've got here is really weird. I just okay. Now that Twitter's picking up, I think we're gonna have to increase it to like it needs to be like 20 likes before we see it. Chris Wallace got up on the stage and is talking, but we don't have the audio feed because it's on C-SPAN. That's funny. Oh, well, maybe you think that they're only doing that part on Fox? I don't know. I would think so, but he's moderating, so. This guy on Twitter, Shem Horn, Chris Wallace's mic isn't on, which I think is the perfect way to do this debate. Oh my gosh. Bloomberg knows we'll be checking the facts. I'm sure you will be, Bloomberg. I'm sure you will be. There is an agenda. Shall we look? What are we going to talk about first? Okay. Topic agenda: track records, Supreme Court, coronavirus, race relations, integrity of the election, and the economy. 15 minutes on each. Well, that's interesting because that means that Donald Trump is going to have the chance to go after Joe Biden on some of the things that he said in the past right away. Let's see here. I'll turn the YouTube audio on. Are you allowed to play audio? I think in this case I am because I mean, of course, I'm sure that there will be some bozo. There will probably be some bozo at CNN or Fox or whatever that's going to hit everybody with takedown notices. But this is public access, so we're definitely allowed to restream it. And I'm streaming it through C-SPAN, which is also public. So I think we should be good. Hello, Marty. Yeah, well, we got a debate in the U.S. tonight. Today is the big day. Today is the big day. You want to be watching. Millions of people are watching online right now, and that's only on YouTube. So which stream is the most popular? Which stream is most popular? Debate. Fox is 500. That looks like the biggest one right now. I'm sure it'll be up, picking up more. Yeah, I thought that. Well, I guess we started at 7. But let me get my beer ready. Yeah, you want it. You want to drink for this one. I tell you what, it's going to be interesting to watch the futures here. I'm sure at some point we'll get some wild action. That's pretty thin. I guess all of the news stations have to get their 5 minutes in first. Is that what the deal here is? Michael Moore, who pees in the cup first? Good grief. I think we're going to have to increase our filter again to at least 50 likes, if not 100.
Good evening from the Health Education Campus of Case Western Reserve University and the Cleveland Clinic. I'm Chris Wallace
Can you
of
guys
Fox
hear that
News,
okay?
and I
Let's turn
welcome
up
you
just
to
a
the
little bit.
first of the 2020 presidential debates between President Donald J. Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden. This debate is sponsored by the Commission on Presidential Debates. The commission has designed the format, 6 roughly 15-minute segments with 2-minute answers from each candidate to the first question, then open discussion for the rest of each segment. Both campaigns have agreed to these rules. For the record, I decided the topics and the questions in each topic. I can assure you, none of the questions has been shared with the commission or the 2 candidates. This debate is being conducted under health and safety protocols designed by the Cleveland
So if any
Clinic,
questions were
which is
leaked, we
serving as
can
the
blame
health
Chris Wallace?
security
Is that what he's
advisor
saying?
to the commission for all 4 debates. As a precaution, both campaigns have agreed the candidates will not shake hands at the beginning of tonight's debate. The audience here in the hall has promised to remain
Well, if
silent.
he assures it, I
Cheers,
believe him.
No boos or other interruptions. So
That's
we
interesting that they're not going to shake hands at the
focus
beginning
on
of
what
the
the
debate.
candidates
That's
have to
not
say.
usual.
No noise except right now as we welcome the Republican nominee, President Trump, and the Democratic nominee, Vice President Biden.
Biden looks so...
How you doing, man?
How you doing, man? Okay. Oh,
Gentlemen,
man.
a
It's such a
lot of
small
people
crowd.
are
It's so
waiting
weird.
for this night, so let's get going. Our first
I like
subject is the Supreme
the
Court. President Trump,
backgrounds.
you nominated Amy Coney Barrett over the weekend to succeed the late Ruth Bader Ginsburg on the court. You say the Constitution is clear about your obligation and the Senate's to consider a nominee to the court. Vice President Biden, you say that this is an effort by the president and Republicans to jam through an appointment and what you call an abuse of power. My first question to both of you tonight, why are you right in the argument you make and your opponent wrong? And where do you think a Justice Barrett would take the court? President Trump, in this first segment, you go first, 2 minutes.
Thank you very much, Chris. I will tell you very simply, we won the election. Elections have consequences. We have the Senate, we have the White House, and we have a phenomenal nominee, respected by all, top academic, good in every way, In fact, some of her biggest endorsers are very liberal people from Notre Dame and other places. So I think she's going to be fantastic. We have plenty of time. Even if we did it after the election
so the
itself,
first
I
thing
have
that
a
I'm
lot of
noting
time
is
after
that
the election,
Joe
as you
Biden
know.
seems pretty
So I
close.
think that
He
she
looks
will be
really old to
outstanding.
me
She's
right
going
now,
to be,
but
as
he
good as
seems like he's
anybody
writing it
that has
down.
served
He's
on that
paying
court.
attention.
We really feel that. We have a professor at Notre Dame, highly respected by all, said she's the
So
single
let's see if he
greatest
comes out
student
swinging.
he's ever had. He's been a professor for a long time at a great school. And we won the election, and therefore we have the right to choose her, and very few people knowingly would say otherwise. And by the way, the Democrats, they wouldn't even think about not doing it. If they had, the only difference is they'd try and do it faster. There's no way they would give it up. They had Merrick Garland, but the problem is they didn't have the election, so they were stopped. And probably that would happen in reverse also. Definitely it would happen in reverse. So we won the election, and we have the right to do it, Chris.
President Trump, thank you. Same question to you, Vice President Biden. You have 2 minutes.
Well, first of all, thank you for doing this, and looking forward to this, Mr. President.
Thank you, Joe.
The American people have a right to have a say in who the Supreme Court nominee is. And that say occurs when they vote for United States senators and when they vote for the President of the United States.
Okay.
They're not going to get that chance now because we're in the middle of an election already. The election has already started.
I don't find what he's saying
People have already
very
voted. And so the thing that should happen is we should wait. We should wait and see what the outcome of this election is, because that's the only way the American people get to express their view is by who they elect as president and who they elect as vice president. Now, what's at stake here is the president's made it clear he wants to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. He's been running on that, he ran on that, and he's been governing on that. He's in the Supreme Court right now trying to get rid of the Affordable Care Act, which will strip 20 million people.
Okay, so now
from
attacking
having
on the
insurance,
Affordable
health
Care Act,
insurance
that's
now,
smart
if
move on his
it
part.
goes into court, and the justice, and I have nothing. I'm not opposed to the justice. She seems like a very fine person, but she's written before she went on the bench, which is her right, that she thinks that the Affordable Care Act is not constitutional. The other thing that's on the court, and if it's struck down, what happens? Women's rights are fundamentally changed. Once again, a woman could be pay more money because she has a pre-existing condition of pregnancy. They were able to charge a woman more for the same
Well,
exact
he is
procedure
not very
a man
good with that microphone.
gets. And that ended when we, in fact, passed the Affordable Care Act. And there's 100 million people who have pre-existing conditions, and they'll be taken away as well. Those pre-existing conditions, the insurance companies are going to love this. And so it's just not appropriate to do this before this election. If he wins the election and the Senate is Democrat or Republican, then he goes forward. If not, we should wait until February.
All right.
There aren't 100 million people with pre-existing conditions. As far as the say is concerned, the people already had their say. Okay, Justice Ginsburg said very powerfully, very strongly, at some point,
Hey, Win, how are you
10
going?
years ago or so, she said a president and the Senate is elected for a period of time, but a president's elected for 4 years. We're not elected for 3 years. I'm not elected for 3 years. So we have the Senate, we have a president.
He's elected to the next
During
election.
that period of time, we have an opening. I'm not elected for 3 years. I'm elected for 4 years. And the
election's
100
already
million
started.
people, Joe, the 100 million people is totally wrong. I don't know where you got that number. The bigger problem that you have is that you're going to extinguish 180 million people with their private health care that they're very
That's
happy
simply
with.
not true.
Well, you're certainly
knows
going
that.
to socialist.
Go
You're
ahead.
going to socialist medicine.
We're now into, gentlemen, we're now into open discussion.
Open discussion.
Open discussion. Yes, I agree. Go ahead, Vice President.
Number
White.
one, he knows that what I proposed. What I proposed is that we expand Obamacare and we increase it. We do not wipe any. And one of the big debates we had with 23 of my colleagues trying to
I
win
fell
the
asleep a
nomination
few
that I
minutes
won,
before. I
they
am
were
never
saying that
tired at this
Biden
time of
wanted to
night. Well, you
allow
can fall
people to have
asleep during
private
this then.
insurance still.
So
They
far,
can.
it's a snore.
They do. They will under my proposal.
It's not what you've said,
But
and it's not what
that
your
is-
party has said.
that is simply
Your party
a lie.
doesn't say it. Your party
That is
wants to
simple.
go socialist
My
medicine
party is
and
me.
socialist
right
healthcare.
now. I am
My party isn't me.
I am the Democratic Party right now.
Okay.
The platform of the
Not according
Democratic
to
Party
Harris.
is what I, in fact, approved of. What I approved of. Now, here's the deal.
Okay.
The deal is that it's going to.
He got something going here. This is not what I expected
200 million,
Joe Biden to
200,000
take
people
at
have
all.
Died on his watch. They're, how
I
many
mean,
of those have
on.
survived?
Oh, he's changing
Well,
the
there's
subject,
7
so he
million
feels a
people
little
that
cornered.
contracted COVID. What does it mean for them going forward if you strike down the Affordable Care Act? And
Joe, you've had
pre-existing conditions?
308,000 military people dying because you couldn't provide them proper health care in the military. So don't tell me
I'm
about
happy
this.
to talk about
And
this.
if you were here,
Look,
it
here's
wouldn't
the
be
deal.
200, it would be 2 million people because you were very late on the draw. You
Late
didn't
on
want
the
me to ban China, which was heavily infected. You didn't want me to ban
All right, gentlemen,
Europe.
He is ready. He is ready to go.
Later.
Mr.
You're
President.
talking about 2 million people.
Joe Biden is just ready
We are going
to
talk about that in the
go.
next segment, but go ahead.
Let me finish. The point is that the president also is opposed to Roe v. Wade. That's on the ballot as well in the court. And so that's also at stake right now. And so the election is already
You don't know it's on the
begun.
ballot. Why is it on the ballot?
Because
It's not.
Why
because
is it
you
on the
said
ballot? It's not
you're-
on the ballot.
It's on the ballot in the
I
court.
don't think so.
In the court. Well,
There's nothing happening there.
Donald, would you
And you
just be
don't
quiet
know
for a
her
minute?
view on Roe v. Wade. You
I
don't
don't
know her
know.
view.
Well, all right. Let's talk. I would. We got a lot of time back here, gentlemen. We got a lot of time, so
This is going to be a long
then we'll
debate.
go back to Roe v. Wade.
Oh, man.
Mr. President, the Supreme Court will hear a case a week after the election in which the Trump administration, along with 18 state attorneys general, are seeking to overturn.
So it seems to me that Donald
Obamacare
Trump's
and Obamacare. You have spent the last
strategy is to be as antagonistic to Joe Biden as possible.
Over the last 4 years, you have promised to repeal and replace Obamacare, but you have never in these 4 years come up with a plan, a comprehensive plan
Yes,
to
I have.
replace Obamacare.
Of course I have.
Well, I'll
I
give
got
you
rid
an
of
opp-
the
I'm gonna- and when I
individual
finish,
mandate.
I'm going to give you an
Excuse
opportunity.
me. I got rid of the individual mandate, which was a
That is
big
not a
chunk of
comprehensive
That
plan.
is absolutely a big thing. That was the
I
worst
didn't
part of
ask-
So Chris Wallace says something false in the debate question. He talks
I'll
over
ask
him.
Joe.
The
The individual mandate was the most unpopular
Mr. Vice Pre-
aspect of
Mr.
Obamacare. I
President,
got rid of it.
I'd like you
and
to,
we will
Mr.
protect people
President,
with
I'm the
pre-existing
moderator of this
conditions.
debate, and I would like you to let me ask.
Then
a question.
ask a fair question.
You, in the course of these 4 years, have never come up with a comprehensive plan
False.
to replace Obamacare, and just this last Thursday,
You really got to
signed a
eviscerate
largely
him on this.
symbolic executive order to protect people with pre-existing conditions 5 days before this debate. So my question, sir, is what is the Trump health care plan?
Well, first of all, I guess I'm debating you, not him, but that's okay. I'm not surprised. Let me just tell you something. Drug prices, I'm going with favored nations, which no president has the courage to do because you're going against big pharma. Drug prices will be coming down 80 or 90%. You could have done it during your 47-year period in government, but you didn't do it. All of the things that we've done,
He has not cut
insulin. I
healthcare.
give you an example. Insulin. It was destroying families, destroying people. The cost.
The market is going up.
Cheap. It's like water. You want to know the truth? So cheap.
I wish I
Look
could
at all
understand
of the
everything.
drugs that what we're doing, prescription drug prices. We're going to allow our
Donald Trump
companies
just
now
had
to
a
go to
strong
other
moment.
countries
His
to buy drug
supporters are
prices.
going to love
They
what
pay
is
just a
happening.
tiny
As
fraction.
I say,
of
this
what
is
we do.
open discussion.
No,
Let
but
me
this
ask
is
you about.
big. This
You'll
is
be happy,
big stuff.
sir. You'll be happy. I'm about to pick up on one of your points to ask the vice president, which is he points out that you would like to add a public option to Obamacare, and
Yes.
the argument that he makes and other Republicans make is that that is going to end private insurance.
It is
and
not.
well, if I can
sorry.
ask you the question, it will
Not
end.
what your party says, by the way.
It will end private insurance.
It does not. It's only for those people who are so poor.
He said Chris Wallace stepped in it. He shouldn't have asked that question that way.
In most states,
He made
governors who want
Chris
to
Wallace
deny
made an
people who are
assertion.
Medicaid. Anyone who
Wasn't a
qualifies
question. He
for
made an
Medicaid
assertion. There was an assertion in the
Medicaid would
question.
automatically be enrolled in the public option.
And by the way, Donald Trump
Majority
didn't
of
want
American
Chris
people
Wallace to be
still
one of the
not
debate
be
moderators,
in
too.
that option.
He's
Number one.
specifically
You agree
requesting
with
not
Bernie
get
Sanders
it.
was far left on the manifesto,
when
we
you-
call it,
when
and that
manifest-
gives you socialized medicine.
Look, hey,
you
I'm
saying
not
you
going
didn't
to listen
agree?
to him. The fact of the matter is, Bernie Sanders,
Not by much.
No.
Pocahontas would have 2 days earlier would have lost every primary.
all he knows how to
on
do
Super
is hurt.
Tuesday.
Oh my God, this
lucky-
is
very lucky
fucking
tonight.
hilarious.
And tonight,
Oh my gosh.
because here's the deal. Here's the deal. The fact is that everything he's saying so far is simply a lie. I'm not here to call out his lies. Everybody knows he's a liar.
But you
I just
agree.
want to
Wait,
make
wait,
sure.
Joe, you're the liar.
I want to make sure.
Graduated last in your class, not first in your class.
I want to make
Mr.
sure.
President, can you let him finish, sir?
No, he doesn't know how to do that. He has,
You'd be
you know,
surprised.
you pick
You'd be surprised.
the
Go ahead,
wrong
Joe.
guy,
Talk,
the wrong
Joe,
night at
go.
the wrong time.
Listen, you agreed with
Here's the
Bernie
deal.
Sanders to the
The
manifesto.
whole idea.
let
Now you're
him-
disavowing it.
There
Go ahead.
is no manifesto. Number
Please
one.
let him speak, Mr.
Number
President.
two.
You just lost the left.
Number two.
You just lost the left.
I mean, it's
Agreed
funny.
with Bernie Sanders on a plan.
Folks,
that's absolutely
folks,
agreed
do you have
to,
any
and under that
idea
plan,
what
you have
this clown's
socialized, they
doing?
call it
Mr.
Do you
Medicare,
have any
President.
do?
socialized medicine.
Mr.
Well,
President.
I tell you what, he is not for any help for people needing health care because
Bernie?
because he in fact already has cost 10 million people their health care that they had from their employers because of his recession. Number one. Number two.
Oh my gosh, that is
Getting
so
to
nasty.
Obamacare now that he wants to take it away. He won't ever look you in the eye and say that's what he wants to do. Take it.
Well,
away.
I have to say that Joe Biden is
But,
quite
and by the way,
lifeless.
he
Obamacare
doesn't
is
know
no
how.
good.
He doesn't know how
I've
to do
already
that.
fixed it.
He has never
I've
offered
already
a plan.
fixed it to an extent.
He has never
Obamacare,
done a
as you
single
might
thing.
know, but probably don't.
Gentlemen, you
Obamacare
realize
is no
if you're
good,
both
Joe.
speaking at the
It's no
same
good,
time,
and it's too expensive.
let the president go ahead, sir.
Obamacare is no good. We made it better. And I had a choice to make very early on. We took away the individual mandate. We guarantee pre-existing conditions, but took away the individual mandate. Listen, this is the way it is. And that destroyed, that they shouldn't even call it Obamacare. Then I had a choice to make. Do I let my people run it really well, Or badly. If I run it badly, they'll probably
market's
blame him,
going up
but they'll
again.
blame me. But more importantly, I want to help people, okay? I said, you got to run it so well.
That's what he's
And I
known
just
for.
had a meeting with them. They said the problem is no matter how well you run Obamacare, it's a disaster. It's too expensive, premiums are too high, and
That's
it
what his
doesn't work.
people- that's what his
So
people said.
we do
No,
want to
no,
get
no.
rid of it.
It's
Chris,
an
we
open
want to get rid of it.
I
and
understand
give
it, sir,
something
but I have
that's
to, I
cheaper
have to
and
give you
better.
roughly equal time.
Good.
Please let the Vice President talk.
Good.
He has no plan for health care. Of
course we do.
Please.
He sends out wishful thinking. He has executive orders that have no power. He hasn't lowered drug costs for anybody. He's been promising a health care plan since he got elected.
Not
he has
true.
none, like almost everything else he talks about. He does not have a plan. He does.
All right, well, the E-mini moved up there, but
Practice this
just
man
realize
doesn't know what
that
he's
the
talking about.
tape is
All right,
like
I have one,
serious.
I have one
So I'm
final
gonna
question for you,
filter it back out.
Mr. Vice President. If Senate Republicans, we were talking originally about the Supreme Court here, if Senate Republicans go ahead and confirm Justice Barrett, there has been talk about ending the filibuster or even packing the court, adding to the 9 justices there. You call this a distraction by the president, but in fact it wasn't brought up by the president. It was brought up by some of your Democratic colleagues in the Congress. So my question to you is, you have refused in the past to talk about it. Are you willing to tell the American people tonight whether or not you will support either ending the filibuster or packing the court?
Whatever position I take on that, that'll become the issue. The issue is the American people should speak. You should go out and vote.
So he's not going to take a position on whether they should end the
How
filibuster?
strongly you feel. Vote now.
gonna pack the
Make
court?
sure you, in fact, let people know
He doesn't wanna
you're a
answer the
senator.
question.
I'm not going to answer the question
Why
because
wouldn't you answer that
because
question?
the question is
This is a big mistake by Biden. This is a big mistake to not answer that.
on your
All
list.
right, gentlemen, I think
This
we've
is
ended
so
this.
He's going to pack the
unprecedented.
court.
We have
He's
ended.
not going to give a list.
We have ended this segment. We're going to move on to the second segment.
That was really a productive segment, wasn't it? Keep yapping, man.
The people understand, Joe.
They sure do.
47 years you've done nothing. They understand.
All right. The second subject is COVID-19, which is an awfully serious subject. So
He is just batting him around.
try to
I don't know. It's so the problem is that the people that don't like Trump are not going to be inspired by this,
coronavirus in
right?
the United States, and
They're going to think
two
they're going to be really
2,000
frustrated
people
by Donald
have
Trump.
died. Even after we produce a vaccine, experts say that it could be months or even years before we come back to anything approaching normal. My question for both of you is, based on what you have said and done so far and what you have said you would do starting in 2021, why should the American people trust you more than your opponent to deal with this public health crisis going forward? In this case, the question goes to you first, sir. 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Good luck. 200,000 dead. As you said, over 7 million infected in the United States. We, in fact, have 5%, 4% of the world's population, 20% of the deaths. 40,000 people a day are contracting COVID. In addition to that, about between 750 and 1,000 people a day are dying. When he was presented with that number, he said, it is what it is. Well, it is what it is because you are who you are. That's why it is. The president has no plan. He hasn't laid out anything. He knew all the way back in February how serious this
He's going to
crisis
throw
was.
this back in Joe's
He knew it
face.
was a
I know
deadly
exactly what
disease.
he's going to say.
What did he do? He's on tape as acknowledging he knew it. He said he didn't tell us or give people a warning of it because he didn't want to panic the American people. You don't panic. He panicked. In addition to that, what did he do? He went in and we were insisting that the Chinese, the people we had on the ground in China should be able to go to Wuhan and determine for themselves how dangerous this was. He did not even ask Xi to do that. He told us what a great job Xi was doing. He said we owe him a debt of gratitude for being so transparent with us. And what did he do then? He then did nothing. He waited and waited and waited. He still doesn't have a plan. I laid out
Sir,
back
it's
in
his 2
March
minutes.
exactly
it's so
what we
wrong.
should be doing. And I laid out again in July what we should be doing. We should be providing all the protective gear possible. We should be providing the money the House has passed in order to be able to go out and get people the help they need to keep their businesses open schools. It costs a lot of money. You should get out of your bunker and get out of the sand trap and get in your golf course and go in the Oval Office and bring together the Democrats and Republicans and fund what needs to be done now to save lives.
So if we would have listened to you.
You have 2 minutes, sir.
If we would have listened to you, the country would have been left wide open. Millions of people would have died, not 200,000, and one person is too much. It's China's fault. It should have never happened. They stopped it from going in, but it was China's fault. And by the way, when you talk about numbers, you don't know how many people died in China. You don't know how many people died in Russia. You don't know how many people died in India. They don't exactly give you a straight count, just so you understand. But if you look at what we've done, I closed it, and you said he's xenophobic. He's a racist, and he's xenophobic because you didn't think I should have closed our country.
Wait a minute. It's his 2 minutes.
You didn't think we should have closed our country because you thought it was terrible. You wouldn't have closed it for another 2 months. By my doing it early, in fact, Dr. Fauci said, President Trump saved thousands of lives. Many of your Democrat governors said, President Trump did a phenomenal job. We worked with the governor. Oh, really? Go take a look. The governors said I did a phenomenal job. Most of them said that. In fact, people that would not be necessarily on my side said that. President Trump did a phenomenal job. We did. We got the gowns. We got the masks. We made the ventilators. You wouldn't have made ventilators. And now we're weeks away from a vaccine. We're doing therapeutics already. Fewer people are dying when they get sick. Far fewer people are dying. We've done a great job. The only thing I haven't done a good job, and that's because of the fake news. No matter what you say to them, they give you bad press on it. It's just fake news. They give you good press. They give me bad press because that's the way it is, unfortunately. But let me just tell you something. I don't care. I've gotten used to it. But I'll tell you, Joe, you could never have done the job that we did. You don't have it in your blood. You could have never done that job.
I know how to do the job. I know how to get the job
Well, you
done.
didn't do very well in swine flu. H1N1, you were a disaster. Your own chief of staff said you were a disaster.
14,000 people died, not 200,000. There was no
very-
economic recession.
Sir, you made a
Far
there was
less
no
lethal
recession.
disease,
You made
by
a
the way.
point. Let him answer.
And there was we didn't shut down the economy. This is his economy he shut down. The reason it's shut down is because
Whoa. He shut down the economy. So are you saying we shouldn't have shut down the
someone
economy?
died of COVID.
What?
How many of you were in a situation where you lost your mom or dad and you couldn't even speak to them? You had a nurse holding a phone up so you could, in fact, say goodbye.
You would have lost far
How
more
many
people.
This is such bullshit, Joe.
And by the way,
Months late.
your own,
You were
his
months behind me,
his
Joe.
own CDC director says we could lose as many as another 200,000 people between
it's
now and
probably
the end of the
true.
year.
It's a serious
He told me, he said,
disease.
if we just wear a mask, we can save half those numbers. Just a mask. And by the way, in
People
terms
are
of the
wearing
whole
masks.
notion of a vaccine, we're for a vaccine, but I don't trust him at all, nor do you. I know you don't. What we trust
Joe, don't go there. Don't go there.
And
Gentlemen,
then,
let me
No.
move on to questions about the future because you both have touched on one
I
of the
can't believe you
two
let
questions
that.
I'm gonna
Okay.
ask. Focusing on the future,
All right.
President Trump, you have
Man.
either contradicted
You shouldn't be going there. Oh, I don't trust you with the vaccine. That's such.
Head of the Centers for Disease Control, Dr. Redfield, said it would be summer before the vaccine would become generally available to the public. You said that he was confused and mistaken. Those were your two words.
Yeah.
But Dr. Slaoui, the head of your Operation Warp Speed, has said exactly the same thing. Are they both wrong?
Well, I've spoken to the companies, and we can have it a lot sooner. It's a very political thing because people like this would rather make it political than save lives. It is a very political thing. I've spoken to Pfizer. I've spoken to all of the people that you have to speak to. We have great Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, and others. They can go faster than that by a lot. Become very political because the left, or I don't know if I call them left, I don't know what I call
the
them.
head of your Operation Warp Speed, Dr. Slaoui?
I disagree with him. Yeah, no, I disagree with both of them. And he didn't say that. He said it could be there, but it could also be much sooner. I had him in my office 2 days ago.
He talked about the summer, sir, before it's generally available. Just like
He
Dr.
said it's a
Redfield.
possibility that we'll have the answer before November 1st. It could also
I'm
be
talking
after
about when it's
that.
generally available, not when it
Well,
will
we're
be.
going to deliver it right away. We have the military all set up. Logistically, they're all set up. We have our military that delivers soldiers, and they can do 200,000 a day. They're going to be
this
delivering
is the
the
same
vaccine.
man
It's
who
all
told
set
you
up.
by Easter this would be gone away. by the warm weather, it'd be gone. Miraculous, like a miracle. And by the way, maybe you could inject some bleach in your arm, and that would take.
You think
care
that Joe Biden
This
is
the
scoring
same man.
points doing this?
Sarcastically,
was
you
him.
know that.
I
That was said sarcastically.
And so here's the deal. This man is talking about a vaccine. Every serious company is talking about maybe having a vaccine done by the end of the year. But the distribution of that vaccine will not occur until sometime beginning or the middle of next year to get it out, if we get the vaccine. And pray God we will.
He's
Pray
saying
God we
these
will.
Vice
things,
President, I want to
just
pick up
like
on
directly
that.
contradicting what they just said.
You say the public can trust the scientists, but they can't trust President Trump. In fact, you said that again tonight. Your running mate, Senator Harris, goes further, saying the public health experts, quote, will be muzzled, will be suppressed. Given the fact that polls already show that people are concerned about the vaccine and are reluctant to take it, are you and your running mate, Senator Harris, contributing to that fear?
No more than the question you just
Thank
asked.
you.
You pointed out. He puts pressure and disagrees with his own scientists.
But you're saying
Everybody
you can't, or
knows.
Senator
And-
Harris is saying
no,
you can't trust the scientists.
No. You can trust the scientists. She didn't say that. You can't trust
She said the public health
did say
experts,
that.
quote, will be muzzled, will be
Yes.
suppressed.
Well, that's what he's going to try to do. But there's millions of scientists, there's thousands of scientists out there, like here at this great hospital, that don't work for him. Their job doesn't depend on him. That's not. They're the people. And by
I
the way,
spoke to the
and Fauci,
scientists that are in
and
charge.
by the way,
they will have
and
the vaccine very soon.
Let him finish.
Do you believe for a moment what he's telling you? in
Trump
light of
2020
all
Washington
the lies
Big
he's
Red
told
Bill?
you about the whole.
The market
thing
seems to
related
think
COVID.
already that
He
Donald
still
Trump has
hasn't
won
even
this.
acknowledged.
It's
that
tepid.
he knew
It's
this
tepid,
was
I
happening,
suppose,
knew
but
how
I mean
dangerous
that
it
was
gonna
a
be
pretty
back in
good
February,
10-point
and he didn't
rise
even
in the
tell
futures
you.
after
He's
the
on
just the
record
first few
as saying it.
exchanges.
He panicked, or he just looked at the stock market. One of the two, because guess what? A lot of people died, and a lot more are going to die unless he gets a lot smarter.
And I really feel like that the arguments Joe
You used
Biden
the word
making are
smart.
really disingenuous, you know?
So you said you went to Delaware State, but you forgot the name of your college. You didn't go to Delaware State. You graduated either the lowest or almost the lowest in your class. Don't ever use the word smart with me. Don't ever use that word.
Oh, give me a break.
Because you know what? There's nothing smart about you, Joe. 47 years you've done nothing.
Let's have this debate.
And if
We'll
you
see
would have
who's
had, let me just tell you something, Joe.
No,
If you would have had the charge of what I was put through, I had to close the greatest economy in the history of our country. And by the way, now it's being built again.
see, he-
and it's
We're going to
going
get
up
to the
fast.
economy in the next segment, sir.
Okay.
It's going up fast.
Okay.
Look forward to talking
When it
about
comes to how the virus has been handled so far, the two of you have taken very different approaches, and this is going to affect how the virus is handled going forward by whichever of you ends up becoming the next president. I want to quickly go through several of those. Reopenings. Vice President Biden, you have been much more reluctant than
So the Donald Trump supporters seem to
reopening
be
the economy and schools.
really
Because he
confident
doesn't have
right
a
now.
plan. If I were running, I know what the plan is. You've got to provide these businesses the ability to have the money to be able to reopen with the PPE as well as with the sanitation they
Ooh,
need.
now we
You
get
have
into
to
this.
Tell
provide
that
them
to Nancy
plastic.
Tell it to Nancy Pelosi. And Schumer,
by the
Cry
way,
and Chuck.
Nancy Pelosi and Schumer, they have a plan. He won't even meet with them. The Republicans
Donald
won't meet
is
with the Senate.
down.
And he sits on his golf course, and I mean, literally, think about it.
You probably play
think
more than
about
I
it.
do, Joe.
What about the
To shut down this country. And I want to keep it open. And we
You
did a
ju- he
great thing
just
by
admitted
shutting
he
it
shut
down.
it down.
Wait a minute,
Let
Joe.
him
Let me
finish,
shut
sir.
you down for a second, Joe, just for 1 second. He wants to shut down the country. We just went through it. We had to because we didn't know anything about the disease. Now we found that elderly people with heart problems and diabetes and different problems are very, very vulnerable. We learned a lot. Young children aren't. Even younger people aren't. We've learned a lot. But he wants to shut it down. More people will be hurt by continuing. If you look at Pennsylvania, if you look at certain states that have been shut down, they have Democrat governors all. One of the reasons they're shut down is because they want to keep it shut down until after the election on November 3rd.
I want to move on to another
because
subject.
it's a
I want to move
political
on to
thing.
another
I've
subject.
gotta respond.
But those states, are not
subject.
doing well that are shut down
Which is
right
gotta
now.
respond to that.
President
Once they shut
Trump,
down the
you
whole
have
country.
begun to increasingly question the effectiveness of masks as a disease preventer, And in fact, recently you have cited the issue of waiters touching their masks and touching plates. Are you questioning
No, I think
the
masks
efficacy
are okay.
of
You have
masks?
to understand, if you look, I mean, I have a mask right here. I put a mask on, when I think I need it. Tonight, as an example, everybody's had a test, and you've had social distancing and all of the things that you have to. But I
Just
wear
like your
masks
rallies.
when needed. When needed, I wear masks.
Okay, let me ask.
I don't wear masks like him. Every time you see him, he's got a mask. He could be speaking 200 feet away from it. He shows up with the biggest mask I've ever seen. I will say this.
Vice President Biden. Go ahead, sir.
The way to open businesses is give them the wherewithal to be able to open. We provided money. The Congress.
But I was asking you, sir, about masks.
Well, masks.
You mean
masks
because
make a big
Biden is
difference. His
positioned
own
on our
head of the
right?
CDC
You
said
think
if
they
we
should
just wore
flip it?
masks
I don't
between
know.
now, if everybody wore masks and social distance between now and January, we'd probably save up to 100,000
I think Trump
lives.
supporters are
It
already
matters.
knowing
And they've
what
also
Trump's
said
talking
the
about.
opposite.
I'm being
They've
always
also
so
said
no
hazardous.
no
Or
serious
you're written
person
zingers
said
that
the
kind of
opposite.
misplace.
No
Well, look
serious.
all right, I wanna ask
Dr.
you-
Fauci.
I don't
Dr.
think that
Fauci
Joe Biden's
said
been
the
able to
opposite.
get
I
even
we got
even a
very
good
strong minute
sentence
left
in.
in this
Masks
segment.
are not good. Then he changed his mind. He said masks are good.
I
I'm
wanna
okay
ask-
with masks.
I
I'm
want to
not
ask you
fighting
both about
masks.
one last subject, because your different approaches has even affected the way that you have campaigned. President Trump, you're holding large rallies with crowds packed together, thousands of people.
Outside.
Outside, yes, sir, agreed. Vice President Biden, you are holding much smaller events with
Because nobody will show up.
people. With, All right. In any case, why you holding the big rallies? Why you not? You go first, sir.
Because people want to hear what I have to say. I mean,
But are you
you've
not
done a
worried
great
about it
job
spreading
as a
disease?
president, and I'll have 35,000 people show up at airports. We use airports.
Are you
for
not worried
hangars,
about
and we
the
have a
disease
lot of
issue,
people.
sir?
Well, so far we have had no problem whatsoever. It's outside. That's a big difference, according to the experts. And we do them outside. We have tremendous crowds, as you see. I mean, and literally on 24 hours' notice. And Joe does the circles and has 3 people someplace.
Okay.
By the way, did you see the last big rallies he has? And a reporter came up to him to ask him a question. He said, no, stand back. Put on your mask. Put on a mask. Have you been tested? I'm way far away from those other people. That's what he said. I can't. I'm going to be okay. He's not worried about you. He's not worried about the people out there breathing in one another.
We've had no
or
negative
cheek to
effect.
jowl. No negative effect.
We've
Come
had
on.
no negative effect. And we've had 35,000, 40,000
All right.
people
you
at
want
any of these rallies.
Just
Yes.
quickly finish up, because I want to move on to our next.
Yes, I would. He's been totally irresponsible the way in which he has handled the social distancing.
I don't know, man. I feel like that Joe
Encourage him
Biden's
not
not
to.
doing it very
All
well
right,
right
he's
now.
a
But
fool.
it's not like
You
Joe
could be
Biden's
at
making
the
any
crowds,
mistake.
you would
It's
have done
just
the
that,
same thing,
that
but you can't. Nobody
Donald
can.
Trump
Gentlemen,
is
can we
just
move on to
schooling
the
him
economy?
every.
Gentlemen, can we move on to
you
the
know.
economy?
Yes.
The economy is, I think it's fair to say, recovering faster than expected from the shutdown.
Much faster.
In the second quarter, the unemployment rate fell to 8.4% last month. The Federal Reserve says the hit to growth, which is going to be there, is not going to be nearly as big as they had expected. President Trump, you say we are in a V-shaped recovery. Vice President Biden, you say it's more of a K-shape. What difference does that mean to the American people in terms of the
Is it a
economy?
K-shaped rally? I don't know.
Segment, you go first.
So we built the greatest economy in history. We closed it down because of the China plague. When the plague came in, we closed it down, which was very hard psychologically to do. He didn't think we should close it down, and he was wrong. And again, 2 million people would be dead now instead of still 204,000 people is too much. One person is too much. Should have never happened from China. But what happened is we closed it down, and now we're reopening, and we're doing record business. We had 10.4 million people in a 4-month period that we've put back into the workforce. That's a record the likes of which nobody's ever seen before. And he wants to close down he will shut it down again. He will destroy this country. You know, a lot of people between drugs and alcohol and depression,
Trump is hard to
when
be-
you start
Trump is
shutting
way
it
smarter
down, you
than
take
what
a look
people
at what's
give him
happening
credit
at
for.
some of your Democrat-run states with
But he's
tough
very
shutdowns.
impulsive, though.
And I'm telling you, it's because
He can't
they
help
don't
it
want to
but
open it.
interrupt.
One of them came out last week. You saw that. Oh, we're going to open up on November 9th. Why November 9th? Because it's after the election. They think they're hurting us by keeping them closed. They're hurting people. People know what to do. They can social distance. They can wash their hands. They can wear masks. They can do whatever they want. But they got to open these states up. When you look at North Carolina, when you look, and these governors are under siege, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and a couple of others. You got to open these states up. It's not fair. You're talking about almost it's like being in prison. And you look at what's going on with divorce. Look at what's going on with alcoholism and drugs. It's a very, very sad thing. And he'll close down the whole country. This guy will close down the whole country and destroy our country. Our country is coming back incredibly well, setting records as it does it. We don't need somebody to come in and say, let's shut it down.
All right. Your 2
So
minutes,
people
sir.
in Utah don't
To
like
you.
Donald Trump generally, but
As I said, posing the question, the president says it's a V-shaped recovery. You say it's a K-shaped recovery. What's the difference?
The difference is millionaires and billionaires like him in the middle of the COVID crisis have done very well. Billionaires have made another $300 billion because of his profligate tax proposal, and he only focused on the market. But you folks at home, you folks living in Scranton and Claymont and all the small towns.
well, why is that the case? Because then it won't open the states up.
This guy paid a total of $750 in taxes.
Sir, wait, no, sir, it's his
wrong
Yeah, I understand. You've agreed to the 2 minutes, so please let him have it.
Do I get my time back? The fact is that he has, in fact, worked on this in a way that he's going to be the first president of the United States to leave office having fewer jobs in his administration than when he became president. Fewer jobs than when he became president. First one in American history.
Yeah.
Secondly, the people who have lost their jobs are those people who have been on the front lines, those people who have been saving our lives, those people who have been out there dying, people who've been putting themselves in the way to make sure that we could all try to make it.
According
The idea that
to Forbes, Joe Biden is worth $9 million.
Go forward and open when you have almost half the states in America with a significant increase in COVID deaths and COVID cases in the United States of America. And he wants to open it up more.
It's so hard for him
Open
to
it
sit
up.
there
Why
and
doesn't he
hear
take care
something
of
that
the-
he knows
You
is
can't
wrong.
fix the economy until you fix the COVID crisis. And he has no intention of doing anything about making it better for you all at home in terms of your health and your safety. Schools. Why aren't schools open? Because it costs a lot of money to open them safely. You know, they were going to give his
What is he
administration
trying
give the
to
teachers
say?
and school students masks. And then they decided, no, couldn't do that because it's not a national emergency. Not a national emergency. They've done nothing to help small businesses. Nothing. They're closing. 1 in 6 is now gone. He ought to get on the job.
See, a bunch
and
of people
take
are-
care of the needs of the American people. so
The
we can open
problem is
things
that
up.
Joe Biden
Time is up,
supporters
sir.
aren't.
We're going to get to.
be-
I have to respond to that.
Well, you both had 2 minutes, sir.
Excuse me, he made a statement.
So did you.
People want their schools. No, people want their schools open. They don't want to be shut down. They don't want their state shut down. They want their restaurants. I look at New York. It's so sad what's happening in New York. It's almost like a ghost town. And I'm not sure it can ever recover what they've done in New York. People want their places open. They want to get back to their lives.
People
They'll
want
be
to be
careful,
safe.
but they want their schools open.
Okay.
People want
I'm
to
the
be
one that
safe.
brought back football. By the way, I brought back Big Ten football. It was me, and I'm very happy to do it. And
All right,
people of
let's-
Ohio are very proud of me. And you know
We're
how
going
I
to get
found
back.
out? When he took
Gentlemen,
the phony
we're going to
ad.
get to your economic plans going forward in a moment. But first, Mr. President, as you well know, there's a new.
He
report.
kind of wasted an opportunity
2016,
there, I think.
the year you
Donald
were
Trump
elected
did.
president, and 2017, your first year as president, that you paid $750 a year in federal income tax each of those years.
When you talk about this,
I know that you pay a lot of other taxes, but I'm asking you the specific question. Is it true that you paid $750 in federal income taxes each of those 2 years?
I paid millions of dollars in taxes, millions of dollars of income tax. And let me just tell you, there was a story in one of the papers.
Show us your tax
I paid
returns.
$38 million one year. I paid $27 million
Show us your tax
one year.
returns.
I went. You'll see it as soon as it's finished. You'll see it. You know, if you want to do, go to the Board of Elections. There's a 118-page or so report that says everything I have, every bank I have, I'm totally under-leveraged because the assets are extremely good, and we have a very, I built
Sir,
a great
I'm asking
company.
you a specific question, which
But
is.
let me tell you-
I understand all of that.
Release your
I
tax
understand all
return.
of that.
But let me-
No, Mr. President.
Go ahead.
I'm asking you a question. Will you tell us how much you paid in federal income taxes in 2016 and 2017?
Millions of dollars.
You paid millions of dollars?
Millions of dollars.
So
yes.
not 750?
Millions of dollars, and you'll get to see it.
I-
And you'll get to
When?
see it. But let me just
Inshallah?
tell you, Chris, let me just tell you something that It was
He's basically sticking with the New York Times story is completely false, which I don't think anybody believes.
People. Like every other private person, unless they're stupid, they go through the laws, and that's what it is. He passed a tax bill that gave us all these privileges for depreciation and for tax credits. We build a building and we get tax credits, like the hotel on Pennsylvania Avenue. You get a massive, which, by the way, was given to me by the Obama administration, if you can believe that. Now, the man got fired right after that happened. But
Vice President Biden, you want to respond?
Yeah, I do want to respond. Look, the tax code that made him, put him in a position that he pays less tax than a school teacher makes on the money a school teacher makes is because of him he says he's smart because he can take advantage of the tax code. And he does take advantage of the tax code. That's why I'm going to eliminate the Trump tax cuts. And I'm going to eliminate those tax cuts and make sure that we invest in the people who, in fact, need the help. People out there need help.
But why didn't you do it over the last 25 years?
Because you weren't president. Because you weren't president screwing things up.
You were a senator.
Everything was fine before Donald Trump got in, huh?
In 47 months, I've done more than you've done in 47 years, Joe. We've done things that you never even thought of doing, including fixing the broken military that you gave me, including taking care of your vets.
Mr. President, we're talking about the economy. I'd like to ask you about your plans going forward because, Mr. Vice President, your economic plan,
Donald Trump is extremely unfocused.
Focuses a lot on big government, big taxes, big spending. I want to focus first on the taxes. You propose more than $4 trillion over a decade in new taxes on individuals making more than $400,000 a year and on corporations. President Trump says...
Joe, it was fine when we were the only ones abusing the system, right?
The economy is
my gosh.
Well, just take a look at what the analysis done by Wall Street firms. Points out that my economic plan would create 7 million more jobs than his in 4 years, number one. And number two, it would create an additional $1 trillion in economic growth because it would be about buying American. That we're going to make the federal government spend
this is that plan where we basically stole Donald Trump's plan,
buildings and the like. And under my proposal, we're going to make sure that every penny of that has to be made by a company.
But respectfully, sir, I'm talking about taxes, not spending.
By the way, I'm going to eliminate a significant number of the tax. I'm going to make the corporate tax 28%. It shouldn't be 21%. You have 91 companies, in the Fortune 500 who don't pay a single penny in tax, making billions of dollars.
Why didn't you do it before when you were vice president with Obama?
Because you, in fact, passed that. That was your tax proposal.
I got it done. And you know what happened?
Yeah, you got it done.
Our economy boomed like it's never boomed.
The economy is busted. Let me finish.
Mr. President, let me pick up on that. You would continue your free market approach, lower taxes, more deregulation, correct?
Not lower taxes for American people.
Excuse me.
But in Obama's, you talk about the economy booming. It turns out that in Obama's final 3 years,
Joe Biden is starting to feel like he's getting left
were
behind.
Created
He's
1.5 million more jobs than in the first 3 years of your presidency.
They had the slowest recovery economic recovery since 1929. It was the slowest recovery. Also, they took over something that was down here. All you had to do is turn on the lights and you pick up a lot. But they had the slowest economic recovery since 1929. Let me tell you about the stock market. When the stock market goes up, that means jobs. It also means 401ks. If you got in, if you ever became president with your ideas, you want to terminate my taxes, I'll tell you what, you'll lose half of the companies that have poured in here will leave, and plenty of companies that are already here, they'll leave for other places. They will leave, and you will have a depression, the likes of which you've never seen.
Look, we inherited the worst recession short of
I
depression
agree with
in American history.
I really think that if Joe Biden was able to pass the taxes that he's proposing,
the jobs you're talking about.
There's a lot of question about whether he could, but if he was able to pass them,
It wasn't booming.
the stock market would sell off. No question.
Sir, is it fair to is it fair to say he blew it when, in fact, when there was record low unemployment before COVID?
Yeah, but because what he did, even before COVID, manufacturing went in the hole. Manufacturing went in a hole.
Excuse
number
me,
one.
Chris. Wait.
Number two.
Chris.
Number three.
They said it would take. No, you're on number 2.
No.
Chris. They said it would
This
take
guy
a
is
miracle to bring back manufacturing. I brought back 700,000 jobs. They brought back nothing. They gave up on manufacturing.
We
Part
did
of
not
my
agree.
standard fare.
I'm the guy that
He
brought
totally
back
gave
the
up on
automobile
manufacturing.
industry.
All right, let him.
We brought back, I was asked to bring back Chrysler and General Motors. We brought them back right here in the state of Ohio and Michigan. He blew it. They're gone. He blew it. And in fact, they're going.
Ohio had the best year it's ever had last year. Michigan had the best year they've ever had.
That is not
Many
true.
car companies
No,
came in from Germany, from Japan, went to Michigan, went to Ohio.
They're not having
And
that.
they didn't come in with you.
Mr. Vice President, go ahead.
And so you take a look at what he's actually done. He's done very little. His trade deals are the same way.
Like, the thing
talks
is,
about
he
these
keeps
great
saying, oh, he's done very little. And Donald Trump is, like, listing off, like, 10 things that he's done and how good things
We have a
were.
higher deficit with China now than we did before. We have the
Think that when the people watch this, they just ignore everything that Donald
China
Trump is
ate
saying,
your
right?
lunch, Joe, and no wonder your son goes in and he takes out billions of dollars.
He's just
Takes out
really
billions of dollars to
flinging
manage. He makes
around,
millions of
though.
dollars. And also,
Simply
while we're
not
at it,
true.
why is
Simply
it,
not.
just out of curiosity, the mayor of Moscow's wife gave your son $3.5 million.
is
What
not
did he
true.
do to deserve it?
That
What
is
did he do with Burisma
none
to
of that
deserve
is
180?
true.
That's not true? Really?
Let him answer.
None of that is true. It's
Oh, really?
been
He didn't
totally,
get
But no,
$3.5
hey,
million?
Mr. President,
It's
Mr.
totally-
President, please. You've asked
totally
a question.
discredited. Totally discredited. And by the way,
Well, wait, he didn't get
No, no.
$3.5 million, Joe?
Mr. Vice,
He got
Mr.
$3.5 million.
President,
it is not true.
Oh, really?
Mr.
Oh.
President,
But, Mr.
it's an open discussion, please.
Now,
It's a fact.
Well,
There's no
President, answer.
discredited.
Did he really? I don't.
$183,000 a month with no
Joe Biden says it's been discredited? I
Mr.
don't know.
President,
My son did nothing wrong at Burisma.
I think he did.
and
Mr.
The only
President,
guy that
I think he did.
He doesn't want to let me answer because he knows I have the truth. His position has been totally, thoroughly discedited.
who?
And
The media?
By everybody. Well, by the
By the
media,
media,
by our
because they refuse to
allies, by
talk
the
about it
World
because they're
Bank, by
embarrassed.
everyone has discredited. Matter of fact, even
Joe seems rattled about this, yeah?
under oath.
So let me
Under
ask you
oath.
this,
Under-
Joe.
under
No, no,
oath.
go ahead, Mr. I'm listening to
even
you.
People under,
He got $3.5
he
million from
testified-
Moscow.
He testified under oath in his administration, said, I did my job and I did it very well.
Oh,
I
really?
did it
I'd like to
honorably.
know who they are.
Well, I'll give you the list
I'll
of the
fire
people who
them.
testified.
No, no, go ahead, sir.
Sure, you've already fired most of them because they did a
Some
good
because
job.
some people don't do
well,
a good
here's
job.
The,
With you,
Go
they
ahead.
say-
You get
here's the
wait a
deal.
minute. You get the final word, Mr.
well, it's hard to get any word in with this clown. Excuse me, this
Hey,
this
let me just
person.
tell you,
No. I'm Mr. President. I'm
$3.5
Mr.
million,
President.
Joe.
That is simply
Why did
not
he
true.
deserve $3.5 million
It
from
did-
Moscow?
Look, here's the deal. We want to talk about families and ethics.
Clown. He
I don't
uses
want
the
to do
word
that.
clown.
I mean, his family we can talk about all night.
Do you think that that was a slip or
My
not?
family
already
lost
wrote
a fortune by
Go ahead.
coming down and helping
Go
us
ahead.
with
Go ahead,
government.
sir.
And that's
Every-
such a
they're right
That's
here.
it, Mr.
That's
President.
such a
Every
great.
single one of them lost
This
a
is not
fortune
about
President.
my
coming and
family or
helping
his
us with
family. It's
government.
about your family,
They
the
didn't
American
collect
people.
$3.5 million
He
for
doesn't.
nothing.
That's not true. It doesn't want to talk about what you need. You, the American people. It's about you. That's what we're talking about
you
here.
should
All right,
It's
that's
not
the end
about
of
here.
that's the end of the
Shouldn't have
segment.
taken the money.
We're moving on.
He didn't take them.
Well,
Vice
it's a very-
President,
but Chris,
no,
can I be honest? It's a very important
Try to be
question.
honest.
No,
That's
I
a
He
good
stood
thing.
up.
No,
he stood up,
the answer to
and
the
he
question is no.
threatened Ukraine.
No, sir.
With $1 billion, if you don't
That
get rid of
is
the Trump-
absolutely
you know what, you're-
not.
stop.
Oh, we're not allowed to talk about this? Really?
Gentlemen,
Is-
I hate to raise
Chris,
my voice,
he's
but I
on
see it seems
tape.
to be, why should I be different than the two of you? So here's the
Got a
deal.
good point.
We have 6 segments. We have ended that segment.
Chris Wallace will
We're
never
gonna go to the next
moderate
segment.
another
In
debate
that
again.
segment, you each are going to have 2 uninterrupted moments.
Futures
In
are
those
up,
2
ticking
uninterrupted
again,
minutes,
finally,
Mr.
yeah.
President, you can say anything you want.
It was a little
I'm
tepid.
going to ask a question about race, but if you want to answer about something else, go ahead. But I think that the country would be better served if we allowed both people
Shut
to
the
speak with
fuck
fewer
up,
interruptions.
Chris.
I'm appealing to you, sir, to do that.
Well, and him too.
Well, frankly, you've been doing more interrupting
Well, that's
than
all
he
right,
has.
but he does plenty.
Well, less than, sir, less
there's
than.
plenty.
No, less than you have. Let's please continue on.
Chris
The issue of
Wallace.
race. Vice President Biden, you say that President Trump's response
The-
to
the
violence
Trump,
in Charlottesville 3 years
campaign
ago,
is gonna be
when he talked
apocalyptic
about
about-
very fine people on both sides, was what directly led you to launch this run for president.
Oh, yeah, sure.
President Trump, you have often said that you believe you have done more for black Americans than any president, with the possible exception of Abraham Lincoln. My question for the two of you is, why should voters
sets up these questions
trust
is
you rather
awful.
than your opponent to deal with the race issues facing this country over the next 4 years?
But the way he frames these questions is awful.
It's about equity and equality. It's about decency. It's about the Constitution. And we have never walked away from trying to require equity for everyone, equality for the whole.
Wow, Joe Scarborough says if this
But
continues,
we've
pull
never
Joe
accomplished
Biden
it.
and
But
don't
we've
do any
never
more debates.
walked away from it like he has done. It is true. The reason I got in the race is when those people, close your eyes, remember what those people look like coming out of the fields carrying torches, their veins bulging, just spewing anti-Semitic bile.
I really was kind of wondered if
Klan.
Joe
Even
Biden
when we
was
got
going to go
killed.
down this path.
And they asked the president what he thought. He said there were very
So let's see if
fine
Donald
people
Trump
on
is
both
able to
sides.
come up with an
No
effective
president's
counter.
ever said anything like that.
Finish this.
It is who's
Now,
2
second,
minutes, sir.
second point I'd make to you is that when Floyd was killed, when Mr. Floyd was killed, there was a peaceful protest in front of the White House. What did he do? He came out of his bunker, had the military use tear gas on him so he could walk across to a church and hold up a Bible. And then what happened after that? The bishop of that very church said that it was a disgrace. The general who was with him said all he ever wants to do is divide people, not unite people at all. This is a president who has used everything as a dog whistle to try to generate racist hatred, racist division. This is a man who, in fact, you talk about helping African Americans. 1 in 1,000 African Americans has been killed because of the coronavirus. And if he doesn't do something quickly, by the end of the year, 1 in 500 will have been killed. 1 in 500 African Americans. This man is the savior of African Americans. This man cares at all. This man's done virtually nothing. Look, the fact is that you have to look at what he talks about. You have to look at what he did. And what he did has been disastrous for the African American community.
So,
President Trump, you have 2 minutes. Why should Americans trust you over your opponent to deal with
he
racism?
did a crime bill, 1994, where you call them super predators, African Americans, the super predators, and they've never forgotten it. They've never forgotten it, Joe.
No, sir, it's his 2 minutes.
So you did that, and they call you a super predator, and I'm letting people out of jail now that you have treated the African American population community, you have treated the black community about as bad as anybody in this country. You did the 1990, and that's why, if you look at the polls, I'm doing better than any Republican has done in a long time, because they saw what you did. You call them super predators, and you've called them worse than that, because you look back at your testimony over the years, you've called them a lot worse than that. As far as the church is concerned, and as far as the generals are concerned, we just got the support of 250 military leaders and generals, total support. Law enforcement, almost every law enforcement group in the United States. I have Florida, I have Texas, I have Ohio, I have Portland. The sheriff just came out today and he said, I support President Trump. I don't think you have any law enforcement. You can't even say the word law enforcement, because if you say those words, you're going to lose all of your radical left supporters. And why aren't you saying those words, Joe? Why don't you say the words law enforcement? Because you know what? If they called us in Portland, we would put out that fire in a half an hour, but they won't do it because they're run by radical left Democrats. If you look at Chicago, if you look at any place you want to look, Seattle, they heard we were coming in the following day, and they put up their hands, and we got back Seattle. Minneapolis, we got it back, Joe, because we believe in law and order, but you don't. The top 10 cities and just about the top 40 cities are run by Democrats and, in many cases, radical left. And they've got you wrapped around their finger, Joe, to a point where you don't want to say anything about law and order. And I'll tell you what, the people of this country want and demand law and order, and you're afraid to even say it.
All right. I want to.
That was really powerful, I thought.
Vice President Biden, after the grand jury in the Breonna Taylor case decided not to charge any of the police with homicide, you said it raises the question, quote, whether justice could be equally applied in America. Do you believe that there is a separate but unequal system of justice for blacks in this country?
That was a
Yes,
moment
there's
that will get
there's
replayed.
systemic injustice in this country, in education and work and in law enforcement and the way in which it's enforced. But look, the vast majority of police officers are good, decent, honorable men and women. They risk their lives every day to take care of
Don't say that, Joe.
There are some bad apples, and when they
All the left
occur,
is
when they
gonna hate
find
you
them,
for
they
that
have
one.
to be sorted out. They have to be held accountable. They have to be held accountable. And what I'm going to do as President of the United States is call together an entire group of people at the White House.
You mean he's
Well,
just-
everything from the civil rights groups to the police officers.
Chomping at the bit.
And we're going to work this out. We're going to work this out so we change the way in which we have more transparency in when these things happen. These cops aren't happy to see what happened to George Floyd. These cops aren't happy to see what happened to Breonna Taylor. Most don't like it. But we have to have a system where people are held accountable. And by the way, violence in response is never appropriate.
It's been 2/3 that's gone by
Peaceful
quickly.
protest is. Violence is never appropriate.
All right,
What is peaceful protest? When they run through the middle of a town
President Trump,
and burn down your
President Trump,
stores and kill people
President
all over
Trump,
the place,
that
and you
is
say
not
peaceful
peaceful
protest?
President
No,
Trump,
it's
I'm not
not, but
asking-
you say it is.
I did
President
not
Trump,
say
I'd like to continue with the
Yes,
issue
go
of
ahead,
race. I
please.
promise we're
Thank
going to
you.
get to the issue of law and order in a moment. This month, your administration directed federal agencies to end racial sensitivity training that addresses white privilege or critical race theory. Why did you decide to do that, to end racial sensitivity training? And do you believe that there is systemic racism in this country, sir?
I ended it because it's racist. I ended it because a lot of people were complaining that they were asked to do things that were absolutely insane, that it was a radical revolution that was taking place in our military, in our schools, all over the place, and you know it, and so does everybody
what
else.
Is radical,
and he would know.
What is
Oh, it was
radical
totally
about
racist.
racial sensitivity training, sir?
If you were a certain person, you had no status in life. It was sort of a reversal. And if you look at the people, we were paying people hundreds of thousands of dollars to teach very bad ideas and, frankly, very sick ideas. And really, they were
Frankly, very
teaching
sick
people
ideas.
to hate our country. And I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to allow that to happen. We have to go back to the core values of this country. They were teaching people that our country is a horrible place, it's a racist place, and they were teaching people to hate our country. And I'm not going to allow that to happen.
Vice President Biden?
Nobody's doing that. He's the racist.
You just don't know.
Here's the deal. I know a lot more
You
about
just don't know.
Let him finish.
The fact is that
Buddy.
there is racial insensitivity. People have to be made aware of what other people feel like, what insults them, what is demeaning to them. It's important that people know they don't want to. Many people don't want to hurt other people's feelings, but it makes a big difference. It makes a gigantic difference in the way a child is able to grow up and have a sense of self-esteem. It's a little bit like how this guy and his friends look down on so many people. They look down their nose on people like Irish Catholics like me and grew up in Scranton. They look down on people who don't have money. They look down on people who are of a different faith. They look down on people who are a different color. In fact, we're all Americans. The only
is
way
just
we're going to bring this
such-
country together is bring everybody together. There's nothing we cannot do if we do it together. We can take this on and we can defeat racism in America.
President Trump, sir.
During the Obama-Biden administration, there was tremendous division. There was hatred. You look at Ferguson, you go to many places. Look at Oakland. Look what happened in Oakland. Look what happened in Baltimore. Look what happened. Frankly, it was more violent than what I'm even seeing now.
Oh, my
but the
Lord.
reason
This
is
is
that
ridiculous.
the Democrats that run these
Absolutely
cities
ridiculous.
don't want to talk like you about law and order.
Violent
and you
crime,
still haven't mentioned.
violent
Are you in
crime.
favor of law and order?
I'm in favor of law. You following
Are you in
it, and a little
favor
bit
of law and order? Go
yes,
ahead,
I'm
say
in
it.
favor.
You
Everybody's
asked a
in favor
question,
of
let him finish.
Law
He
and order.
loses
Law
left.
and
Let
order.
let him answer.
Law and order with justice, where people get treated fairly. And the fact of the matter is, violent crime went down 17%, 15% in our administration.
All right.
It's gone up on his watch.
Went down much more
he
in
had-
ours.
All right, we're
He
now.
is president of the
Mr. President,
United
you're going
States
to.
of America.
China, we
Mr.
were
President,
breaking every record in the
Mr.
book.
President, you're going to be very happy because
And
we're now going to
excuse
talk
me,
about law and order.
Places we had trouble were Democratic-run cities.
That's
and
exactly
those
my question.
Democratic-
There has been a dramatic increase in homicides in America this summer particularly, and you often blame that on
They end it because they argue
governors,
too
but
much.
in fact, there have been equivalent spikes in Republican-led cities like Tulsa and Fort Worth.
Best part of debates are
So the
always when
question
the
is
two white
this
people
really
try to
a
convince
party
everybody
issue?
who is less racist.
I think it's a party issue. You can bring in a couple of examples, but if you look at Chicago, what's going on in Chicago, where 53 people were shot and 8 died shot. If you look at New York, where it's going up like nobody's ever seen anything, the numbers are going up 100, 150, 200%. Crime. It is crazy what's going on. And he doesn't want to say law and order because he can't, because he'll lose his radical left support.
He's saying Republican cities?
But if he ever got to run this country and they ran it the way he would want to run it, we would have our
look at his face
gone. By the way, our suburbs would be gone, and you would see problems like you've never seen.
He wouldn't know a suburb unless he took a wrong turn.
Oh, I know suburbs.
He would not.
So much
I was
better.
raised.
Go ahead. Wait a minute.
I was raised in the suburbs. This is not 1950. All these dog whistles and racism don't work anymore. Suburbs are by and large
These are all
integrated.
dog
There's
race-
many people today
dog
driving their
whistles?
kids to soccer practice and/or to black and white and
real
Hispanic
Donald Trump
in the
just
same car
tweeting
as there
here.
have been any time in the past.
the
What
hell?
really is a threat to the suburbs and their safety is his failure to deal with COVID. They're dying in the suburbs. His failure to deal with the environment. They're being flooded. They're being burned out because his refusal to do anything. That's why the suburbs are in trouble.
I do want to talk
Campaign
about
had
this
this already, and they're
though,
throwing it
in
out.
the joint recommendation that came from the Biden-Bernie Sanders task force, you talk about
his Twitter account
policing.
posted a video.
First of all, what does
Mid-debate.
reimagining policing mean, and do you support
that has Joe Biden kneeling in
what does
front of
reimagining
fires.
policing mean, and do you support the Black Lives Matter call for community control of policing?
Look, what I support is the police having the opportunity to deal with the problems they face. And I'm totally opposed to defunding the police offices. As a matter of fact, local police, the only one.
I don't
budget
think that
calls for
anybody in
$400
this country
million
can
cut in
agree
local
with
law enforcement
Joe
assistance.
Biden on
They
law
need
and order
more
stuff.
assistance. They need when
See,
they
he's
show up for a
losing
911
his-
call to have someone with them as a psychologist or psychiatrist.
All the left,
to
all of
keep
them.
them from having to use force and be able to talk people down. We have to have community policing like we had before, where the officers
Oh, he is
get to
supporting
know the
community
people
police.
in the communities.
Oh,
That's when crime went down. It didn't go up; it went down. And so we have to be engaged.
That's not what
in
they're
prevent-
talking about,
That's-
Chris. That's
well,
not what
that-
they're talking about.
that's
He's talking about
exactly-
defunding the police.
That is not true.
He doesn't have any law support.
Look,
He has no law enforcement
that's not
support.
true.
Almost
That's
nothing.
look.
Oh, really? Who do you have? Name one group that supports you. Name one group that came out and supported you. Go
Look,
ahead.
look.
Think. We have time.
We don't have time to do
No.
anything.
One law enforcement group.
Oh my God!
I'm going to take
You buy that one. You buy that one.
And I want to get to another subject, which is the issue of protests in
I can't believe that Joe Biden just did that.
Portland, Oregon, especially. We had
Oh, name one. Oh, we don't have time for this.
days of protests,
Okay.
which I think you would agree. You talk about peaceful protests. Many of those turned into riots. Mr. Vice President, you say that people who commit crimes should be held accountable. The question I have, though, is as the Democratic nominee,
That right there, I want.
you are the Democratic Party right now.
Bookmark that.
Ever called the Democratic mayor of Portland or the Democratic governor of Oregon and said, hey, you got to stop this, bring in the National Guard, do whatever it takes, but you stop the days and months of violence in Portland?
I don't hold public office now. I am
okay.
former vice president. I've made it clear. I've made it clear in my public statements that the violence should be prosecuted. It should be prosecuted, and anyone who commits it
But
should
you've
be
never
prosecuted.
called for the people,
He's never
the
said
leader.
that.
Excuse me, sir. You had never called for the leaders in Portland and in Oregon to bring in the National Guard and knock off 100 days of riots.
Well,
They can, in fact, take care of it if he just stay out of the way. Look here.
Oh, really?
Here,
Oh, really?
here's the thing.
I sent in the
I
U.S.
asked him a
Marshals to
question.
get the killer
No,
of the young man in the middle of the street. They shot him, and for 3 days,
President Trump,
Portland
President
wouldn't do
Trump,
anything. I
please
had to send
interrupt
in
him.
the U.S. Marshals.
President
They
Trump,
took care of business.
Go ahead, sir.
And by the way, his own former spokesperson said, riots and chaos and violence help his cause. That's what this is all about.
I don't know who said that.
I do.
Who?
I think Kellyanne Conway.
I don't think she said that.
She said that. And so here's the
All right.
But here's the point.
Go
The
ahead.
point
I don't
is
think
that
she said that. Did she
That's
say
what
that?
he is keeps
I don't
trying
think
to
she said
rile everything up. He doesn't want to calm things down.
I've
Instead
heard
of
that
going
quote
in
before,
and
but I don't
talking
think
to
it was-
people and saying, let's get everybody together, figure out how to deal with this. What's he do? He just pours gasoline in the fire constantly, every single solitary
Okay,
time.
and to end this, button up this segment, I'm going to give you a minute to answer, sir. You have repeatedly
Well, wait,
criticized.
I have to answer his
No,
statement.
you have
His statement.
repeatedly.
Wait,
you have
just one
No,
second.
you've been talking
He
back
made
and
a
forth.
statement.
I'm asking you.
I would love to
you know,
end it.
sir.
I would love to end it, and
You know,
we
if
would
you want to
very-
switch seats,
we would very quickly.
We could do that, but
I'd send in the
We could very quickly.
I don't want to accept the National Guard.
You have repeatedly criticized the vice president for not specifically calling out Antifa and other left-wing
That's right.
extremist groups. But are you willing tonight to condemn white supremacists and militia groups and to say that they need to stand down and not add to the violence in a number of these cities, as we saw in Kenosha and as we've seen in Portland?
Sure,
are you
I'm willing
prepared
to
to
do that,
specifically
but
do it?
Well,
I
go
would
ahead,
say,
sir.
I would say almost everything I see is from the left wing, not from the right wing.
So what are you saying?
I'm willing to do anything. I want to see
Well,
peace.
then do it, sir.
Say it. Do it. Say it.
Do you want to call him? What do you want to call him? Give me a name. Give me a
White
name. Go ahead.
supremacists
Who
and
would
right
you like me to
supremacists.
condemn?
White
Proud Boys.
supremacists and right
Proud
militia.
Boys, stand back and stand by. But I'll tell you what. Somebody's got to do something about Antifa and the left, because this is not a right-wing problem.
His
This
own
is a left-wing.
FBI director
This
said
is a
the threat
left-wing
of
Go ahead,
problem.
white
Go ahead, sir.
supremacists. Antifa's an idea, not an organization.
you gotta be
not
kidding.
militia. That's what
You gotta be kidding. Yep.
His
Okay.
FBI director
Gentlemen,
said.
Well,
we're
then
gonna-
you know what?
No,
He's
no, that
wrong.
we're done, sir. We're moving on to the next. We're
Everybody
When a
moving.
gives you
bat
advice
hits
in
you
your
over the head, that's
administration.
not an idea.
Everybody in
Antifa
your
is
Chris
administration
Wallace
tells
is
you
such
the
a
truth. He's
terrible
That's a bad
debate
idea.
Can I tell you what?
You have no ideas that are
Antifa is a dangerous
All right,
radical
gentlemen,
group.
we're now moving on to the Trump
And
and
you ought to be
Biden
careful with
records.
them. They'll overthrow you.
When
in
a
2
president,
seconds.
I'm going to ask a question. When the president,
Did he just say
second term,
Antifa is not
is
malicious? He
generally
said Antifa's not a group. He said it's not a real
President
group.
Biden, you like to quote one of
You
your
think
dads,
that Joe Biden really believes
which is,
that?
Don't compare me to the Almighty, compare me to the alternative. And in this case, sir, you are the alternative. Looking at both of your records, I'm going to ask each of you, why should voters elect
I don't know,
you president
Lucas.
over your
I'm
opponent?
kind of
In
a
this
little
segment,
what the
President
fuck
Trump, you
about
go
a
first,
lot of
2
these
minutes.
responses.
Because there is
You know
never
what's the
been
real Donald
an
Trump's
administration or president
account
who
tweeting
has done more than I've done in a
they're
period of
moving
3.5
up again.
years, and that's despite the impeachment hoax.
94.
And you saw what happened today with Hillary Clinton, where it was a whole big con job. But despite going through all of these things, where I had to fight both flanks and behind me and above, there has never been an administration that's done what I've done.
Joe Biden
the greatest
tweeted,
before
Donald
COVID
Trump
came
isn't
in,
a
the
law and order
greatest
president,
economy
he's
in
the president
history,
breaks the
lowest
law and breaks the
unemployment
surveillance.
numbers. Everything was good. Everything was going. And by the way, there was unity going to happen. People were calling me for the first time in years. They were calling and they were saying, it's time maybe. And then what happened? We got hit, but now we're building it back up again. A rebuilding of the military, including Space Force and all of the other things. A fixing of the VA, which was a mess under him. 308,000 people died because they didn't have proper health care. It was a mess. And we now got a 91% approval rating at the VA, our vets. We take care of our vets. But we've rebuilt our military. The job that we've done, and I'll tell you something, some people say maybe the most important. By the end of the first term, I'll have approximately 300 federal judges and Court of Appeals judges, 300, and hopefully 3 great Supreme Court justices. That is a record, the likes of which very few people, and you know one of the reasons I'll have so many judges? Because President Obama and him left me 128 judges to fill. When you leave office, you don't leave any judges. That's like you just don't do that. They left 128 openings, and if I were a member of his party, because they have a little different philosophy.
Trump
I'd say if you
refuses
left
to condemn white supremacists? Is that what they're
128
saying now?
openings, you can't be a good president. You can't.
That's
be a
what
good
I
vice
just saw
president.
some people
But I wanna
tweet.
thank
He
you because it
refused to
gives us
condemn white
almost-
supremacists.
It'll probably be above that number by the end of this term.
Time, sir.
300
Like he totally
judges.
did.
It's a record.
Looking at both of your records, why should voters elect you president as opposed to President Trump?
this
You have 2
president-
minutes uninterrupted.
Under this
15
president, we
minutes.
become weaker, sicker, poorer, more
Here
divided,
he's got a.
and more
This
violent.
is a pre
When I
a
was
memorized
vice president,
response.
we inherited a recession. I was asked to fix it. I did. We left him a booming economy, and he caused a recession. With regard to being weaker,
Bummer Trump missed
fact
out the
is that
opportunity to
I've
remind
gone
Americans
head-to-head
watching
with
that
Putin
Biden's vice
and made it
president
clear to
helped
him I'm
raise
not
money
gonna
to
take
bail
any-
rioters who
He's
destroyed
Putin's
people's
puppy.
lives
He
for
still
generations
refuses
out
to
of
even
jail.
say anything to Putin about the bounty on the heads of American soldiers.
Your son got
And-
$3.5 million.
Not true.
Mi-
And
Mr.
by the way,
President, Mr.
my
President,
son.
wait a minute. Mr. President, your campaign agreed to both sides would get 2-minute answers uninterrupted. Well, your side agreed to it, and why don't you observe what your campaign agreed to as a ground rule, okay, sir?
He never keeps his word. Can
Because-
you add
No,
back
no,
30
no,
He's
I'm
a
not
person
asking.
that's
That
not
was a
yelling.
rhetorical
That's
question.
all.
Can you
Go
add
ahead,
back
sir.
30 seconds?
Yeah,
Because-
yes,
okay.
you may have.
All right.
Go ahead.
So, thirdly, we're poor. The billionaires have gotten much.
He is interrupting. It's true.
By a tune of over.
Well, here's the
more
thing is that
since COVID,
in the past,
you
voters
in the
haven't
home,
cared about
you got
interruptions.
less.
It's expected that
You're
you
more trouble
interrupt
than
in
you
a
were
debate,
before.
right?
In terms of being more violent, when we were in office,
And I don't really see a
less
problem with
violence
him
in America
just
than there is today.
saying something on the mic. This.
It's on his.
Chris Wallace is shutting it
With
down.
regard to
Everybody
more
else let
divided,
him do
The
it.
nation can't stay divided. We can't be this way. And speaking of my son, the way
Trump
you
just
talk
refused to
about the
condemn
military,
white supremacy
the way you
in a
talk about
presidential
being
debate.
losers
Are you
and being-
people
and
crazy?
And just being suckers. My son was in Iraq. He spent a year there. He got the Bronze Star. He got the Conspicuous Service Medal. He was not a loser.
people buying.
He was a patriot, and the people left behind there were heroes.
Really?
And I resent.
Are you talking
like
about
hell.
Hunter? Are you talking about
I'm talking
Hunter?
about my son, Bo Biden. You're talking about.
I don't know, Bo. I know Hunter.
Yeah,
Hunter
you know
got
Bo.
thrown. Hunter got thrown out of the military. He was thrown out, dishonorably discharged.
That's not true. He
For
wasn't dishonorably
cocaine
discharged.
use, and he didn't have a job until you became vice president. And once you
None of
became
that
vice
is
president,
true.
he made a fortune in Ukraine, in China, in Moscow,
That is simply
and various
not
other places.
true.
He
My
made a
son,
fortune.
my son,
and he didn't have a job.
My son, like a lot of people we know at home, had a drug problem.
You see it,
He's overtaken
guys.
it. He's fixed it.
You see it? What's happening here, right?
My
Tens
son.
of millions
All
of
right.
But he
dollars.
wasn't given
All right.
tens of millions of
He was
dollars.
given
That
tens
is
of
totally,
millions of
that's been
President Trump,
totally
President Trump,
discredited.
we've already been through.
Totally discredited.
We've already been through this. I think the American people would rather hear about more substantial
So do I.
subjects. Well, as the moderator, sir, I'm going to make a
I know, but when
judgment call
somebody
here.
gets $3.5 million
Okay,
from the
Let's
mayor
talk
of
about-
Moscow,
Let's talk
That is
about-
not
I think it's a
true.
Gentlemen,
That
thing.
report is totally
Why did he get it?
discredited.
I
Mitt
think,
Romney on that committee said it wasn't worth taxpayers' money, that report. It was written for political reasons.
I'd like to talk about climate change.
So would I.
Okay. The forest fires in the West are raging now. They have burned millions of acres. They have displaced hundreds of thousands of people. When state officials there blame the fires on climate change, Mr. President, you said, I don't think the science knows. Over your 4 years, you have pulled the U.S. out of the Paris Climate Accord. You have rolled back a number of Obama environmental records. What do you believe about the science of climate change?
Joe Scarborough keeps saying there's no reason Joe Biden should participate in another debate. He's going to have to because he lost this one, man.
And air. I want beautiful, clean air. We have now the lowest carbon. If you look at our numbers right now, we are doing phenomenally. But I haven't destroyed our businesses. Our businesses aren't put out of commission. If you look at the Paris Accord, it was a disaster from our standpoint. And people are actually very happy about what's going on because our businesses are doing well. As far as the fires are concerned, you need forest management in addition to everything else. The forest floors are loaded up with trees, dead trees that are years old, and they're like tinder, and leaves and everything else. You drop a cigarette in there, the whole forest burns down. You've got to have forest management.
What do you
You've got to have
believe?
cuts.
What do you believe about the science of climate change, sir?
I believe that we have to do everything we can to have immaculate air, immaculate water, and do whatever else we can that's good. We're planting 1 billion trees, the Billion Tree Project, and it's very
Do you
exciting
believe
for a lot of people.
that human pollution, greenhouse gas emissions contributes to the
Shut
global
up,
warming of
Chris.
the
I think
planet?
a lot of things do, but I think to an extent, yes. But I also think we have to do better management of our forests. Every year, I get the call, California's burning. California's burning. that was clean.
The right is
That
just
worked.
going
If
to
you had
eviscerate
forest
Chris
management,
Wallace,
good
dude.
forest management, you wouldn't be getting those calls. You know, in Europe, they have forest cities. They're called forest cities. They maintain their forests. They manage their forests. I was with the head of a major country. It's a forest city. He said, sir, we have trees that are far more, they ignite much easier than California. There shouldn't be that problem. I spoke with the governor about it. I'm getting along very well with the governor. But I said, you know, at some point, you can't every year have hundreds of thousands.
See, I'm seeing
of
people on
land
the
just burned
left
to
and
the
Twitter
ground.
saying,
So
I don't
that's
get this
burning
debate
down
strategy
because
on
of
Hunter
lack of
Biden.
management.
They're avoiding it because he can't answer. He's just saying that it's not true, but it is true.
Obama Clean Power Plan, which limited carbon emissions in power plants. Why have you relaxed?
Because it was driving energy prices through the sky.
Why have you relaxed fuel economy standards that are going to create more pollution from cars
Well,
and
not
trucks?
really, because what's happening is the car is much less expensive and it's a much safer car, and you're talking about a tiny difference. And then what would happen, because of the cost of the car, you would have at least double and triple the number of cars purchased. We have the old slugs out there that are 10, 12 years old. If you did that, the car would be safer. It would be much cheaper by $3,500.
In the case of California, they've simply ignored
No, but you would take
your
a lot of cars
roadmap.
off the market because people would be able to afford a car. Now, and by the way, we're going to see how that turns out. But a lot of people agree with me, many people. The car has gotten so expensive because they have computers all over the place for an extra little bit of gasoline. And, and I'm okay with electric cars, too. I think I'm all for electric cars. I've given big incentives for electric cars. But what they've done in California is just crazy.
Vice President Biden, I'd like you to respond to the president's climate change record, but I also want to ask you about a concern. You proposed $2 trillion.
Jesse Kelly, I will never understand political people who whine about rowdy presidential debate. This is as good as it gets. This is politics. It's a contact sport. Stop this childlike whining for a more polite age that never existed.
The president says a lot of these things would tank the economy and cost millions of jobs.
He's absolutely wrong, number one. Number two, if in fact, during our administration, the Recovery Act, I was in charge, able to bring down the cost of renewable energy to cheaper than or as cheap as coal and gas and oil. Nobody's going to build another coal-fired plant in America. No one's going to build another oil-fired plant in America. They're going to move to renewable energy, number one. Number two, we're going to make sure that we are able to take the federal fleet and turn it into a fleet that's run on their electric vehicles. Making sure that we can do that, we're going to put 500,000 charging stations and all of the highways that we're going to be building in the future. We're going to build an economy that, in fact, is going to provide for the ability of us to take 4 million buildings and make sure that they, in fact, are weatherized in a way that, in fact, they'll emit significantly less gas and oil because the heat will not be going out. There's so many things that we can do now to create thousands and thousands of jobs. We can get to net zero in terms of energy production by 2035. Not only not costing people jobs, creating millions of good-paying jobs, not $15 an hour, but prevailing wage.
So is Donald Trump going to bring up that? Why didn't you do it when you were with
And the first thing
Obama?
I will do, I will rejoin the Paris Accord. I will join the Paris Accord because with us out of it, look what's happening. It's all falling apart. And talk about someone who has no relationship with foreign policy. Brazil, the rainforests of Brazil are being torn down, are being ripped down. More carbon is absorbed in that rainforest than every bit of carbon that's emitted in the United States. Instead of doing something
why didn't you do it the
I would be
last 40
gathering up
years?
and making sure we had the countries of the world coming up with $20 billion and say, here's $20 billion. Stop tearing down the forest. And if you don't, then you're going to have significant economic consequences.
What about the argument that President Trump basically says that you have to balance environmental interests and economic interests, and he's drawn his line?
Well, he hadn't drawn a line. He still, for example, makes sure that he wants to make sure that methane's not a problem. We can.
It looks like the winners of
more
this are
methane without it being a problem. Methane. This is a guy who says that you don't have to have mileage standards for automobiles that exist now. This is a guy who says that Well, the fact
Not
that
true. Not true.
it's all true. And here's
He's
the deal.
talking about the Green New Deal, and it's not $2 billion or $20 billion, as you said. It's $100 trillion.
I'm talking about
where they want to rip down
Go for a
buildings
minute, and then you can go.
and rebuild the building.
No,
It's the
that is
dumbest,
not-
most
that
ridiculous.
is not
where
the case.
airplanes are out of
Wait a minute, sir.
business,
That's it.
where two-car systems are out, where they
Not
want to
true.
take out the cows too.
Not
That's not
true.
true either, right?
Not
this is
true.
a
It was in the plan.
more money than our
is-
country could make in
that is
100
simply
years if we're
not
going.
the case.
It's he's just like, that's not true. That's not true, but it is.
Studied your plan.
We've all been paying
Was
attention.
Upgrading 4 million buildings, weatherizing 2 million homes over 4 years, building 1.5 million energy-efficient homes. So the question becomes, the president is saying, I think some people who support the president would say that sounds like it's going to cost a lot of money and hurt the economy.
What it's going to do is going to create thousands and millions of jobs,
$100
good-paying
trillion.
jobs.
Let him finish, sir.
He doesn't know how to do that.
$100
They-
billion.
The fact is, it's going to create millions of good-paying jobs, and these tax incentives to people for people to weatherize, which he wants to get rid
They
of.
seem to
It's
think-
going to make the economy much.
there's a
How
very
much we're
clear
paying
that
now
the
to deal with the
anti-Donald Trump
hurricanes,
people
with the deal with, by the
seem
way,
to
he
have
enhanced
this
the
idea
hurricanes. He said
that
maybe we should drop a
making a
nuclear
big
weapon
deal
on
out of
the
you
I never said
interrupting
that.
That's
at all.
he did say that.
is going to be a
And
big
here's the
problem.
deal.
You make up a
we,
lot.
And
we are going
the
to be
thing
in a
is
position
that
where we
this
can
is the way
create
that it's always been.
hard,
know?
good jobs by making sure the environment is clean.
I
and
don't
we
think
all
anybody
are in
gives a
better
shit.
shape. We spend billions
I
of
think it's
dollars,
entertaining.
billions of dollars.
Chris Wallace
on
should
floods,
shut the fuck up.
Hurricanes, rising seas. We're in real trouble. Look what's happening.
Just let
in
them
the
go
Midwest
at it.
with these storms that come through and wipe out entire sections and counties in Iowa. They didn't happen before. They're because of global warming. We make up 15% of the world's
really?
problem. We, in fact,
The thing is, he's talking,
well,
and
we
Joe
got to
Biden
even
says
become
something that's
wrong.
wrong,
That's why we have to
and
get back into-
Donald Trump
back
interjects
into
wrong,
the Paris Accord.
and
Gentlemen,
Wait a
we,
minute, Chris. So why
and then
didn't
he
you do it for
tries to
47 years?
shut down the whole thing.
Why didn't you get the
like,
world?
just let him
China
do it.
sends up real
let
dirt
him
into
go.
the air. Russia does, India does, they all do. We're supposed to be good. And by the way, he made a couple of statements. The Green New Deal is $100 trillion,
That is
not
not
$20
my
billion.
plan.
That's
The Green
well,
New
you want to
Deal
rebuild every
is not
building.
my plan.
You want to
All right,
rebuild
all right.
every.
You asked-
knew
you asked-
anything
wait a
about-
minute, wait.
if he knew
Gentlemen,
He
anything
made a
about-
statement
Gentlemen,
about the military. He said I said something about the military. He and his friends made it up, and then they went with it. I never said it.
Okay.
That is
What
not
he
true.
did
Sir,
is he
you're done in
said
this segment.
he called
Mr.
the
Vice-
military
Mr. Vice President,
stupid bastards.
I
and he
did
said
not
it on
say
tape.
that.
He said
Mr.
stupid
Please,
bastards. He
not
said
sir,
it.
stop.
I would never
I
say
would
that to
Play
the
Stop.
military.
it. Play it.
go ahead, Mr.
You're
Vice
Anytime that he tries to get into a real attack too,
The
he
final
stops
question
him.
is, I can't remember which of all.
Chris Wallace is intentionally trying to stop the real dirt.
and about the economy and about this question of what it's going to cost.
The economy.
I mean, the Green New Deal and the idea of what
the
your
Green
environmental
New
changes
Deal-
will do.
The Green New Deal will pay for itself as we move forward. We're not going to build plants that, in fact, are great polluting plants.
So do you
We're going to
support
build
the Green New Deal?
Pardon me?
Do you support
No, I don't support the Green
Oh,
New
you
Deal.
don't? Oh, well, that's a
You
big
let-
statement.
I
That
support
means
the
you
Biden-
just the radical left.
I support the Biden plan that I put forward.
Okay.
The Biden plan, which is different than what he calls the radical Green New Deal.
All right, gentlemen, final segment, election integrity. As we meet tonight, millions of Americans are receiving mail-in ballots or going to vote early. How confident
Dirty debate.
should we be that this will be a fair election? And what are you prepared to do over the next 5+ weeks, because it'll not only be to Election Day, but also counting some ballots, mail-in ballots after Election Day. What are you prepared to do to reassure the American people that the next president will be the legitimate winner of this election? In this final segment, Mr. Vice President, you go first.
Prepared to let people vote. They should go to iwillvote.com, decide how they're going to vote, when they're going to vote, and what means by which they're going to vote. His own Homeland Security Director, and as well as the FBI Director, says there is no evidence at all that mail-in ballots are a source of being manipulated and cheating. They said that. The fact is that there are going to be millions of people because of COVID that are going to be voting by mail-in ballots, like he does, by the way. He sits behind the Resolute desk and sends his ballot to Florida, number one. Number two, We're going to make sure that those people who want to vote in person are able to vote because enough poll watchers are there to make sure they can socially distance. The polls are open on time, and the polls stay open until the votes are counted. And this is all about trying to dissuade people from voting because he's trying to scare people into thinking that it's not going to be legitimate. Show up and vote. You will determine the outcome of this election. Vote, vote, vote. If you're able to vote early in your state, vote early. If you're able to vote in person, vote in person. Vote whatever way is the best way for you, because he cannot stop you from being able to determine.
So even Joe Biden doesn't think that vote by mail is
whether or not when the votes
safe.
are counted and they're all counted.
That's my take from that one.
Accept it. If I win, that will be accepted. If I lose, that'll be accepted. But by the way, if in fact he says he's not sure what he's going to accept, well, let me tell you something. It doesn't matter, because if we get the votes, it's going to be all over. He's going to go. He can't stay in power. It won't happen. It won't happen. So vote. Just make sure you understand you have it in your control to determine what this country is going to look like the next 4 years. Is it going to change, or you get 4 more years of these lies?
Mr. President, 2 minutes.
So when I listened to Joe talking about a transition, there's been no transition from when I won. I won that election. And if you look at crooked Hillary Clinton, if you look at all of the different people, there was no transition, because they came after me trying to do a coup. They came after me spying on my campaign. They started from the day I won, and even before I won, from the day I came down the escalator with our First Lady. They were a disaster. They were a disgrace to our country. And we've caught them. We've caught them all. We've got it all on tape. We've caught them all. And by the way, you gave the idea for the Logan Act against General Flynn. You better take a look at that, because we caught you in a sense. And President Obama was sitting in the office. He knew about it too. So don't tell me about a free transition. As far as the ballots are concerned, it's a disaster. A solicited ballot, okay, solicited is okay. You're soliciting, you're asking, they send it back, you send it back. I did that. If you have an unsolicited, they're sending millions of ballots all over the country. There's fraud. They found them in creeks. They found some with the name Trump, just happened to have the name Trump just the other day in a waste paper basket. They're being sent all over the place. They sent 2 in a Democrat area. They sent out 1,000 ballots. Everybody got 2 ballots. This is going to be a fraud like you've never seen. The other thing, it's nice on November 3rd, you're watching and you see who won the election. And I think we're going to do well, because people are really happy with the job we've done. But you know what? We won't know. We might not know for months, because these ballots are going to be all over. Take a look at what happened in Manhattan. Take a look at what happened in New Jersey. Take a look at what happened in Virginia and other places. They're not losing 2%, 1%, which, by the way, is too much. An election could be won or lost with that. They're losing 30 and 40%. It's a fraud, and it's a shame. And can you imagine where they say you have to have your ballot in by November 10th? November 10th. That means that's 7 days after the election, in theory, should have been announced.
Okay.
We have major states with that, sir, all run by Democrats.
2 minutes is 2 minutes.
All run by Democrats. It's
President Trump,
it's a rigged election.
You're going to be able to continue. You have been charging for months that mail-in balloting is going to be a disaster. You say it's rigged, that it's going to lead to fraud.
I think they should have given them longer than 2-minute answers, too. What the hell is with that?
People voted mail-in voting. That was a quarter, more than a quarter of all the voters that year cast their ballots by mail. Now that millions of mail-in ballots have gone out, what are you going to do about it? And are you counting on the Supreme Court, including a Justice Barrett, to settle any dispute?
Yeah, I think I'm counting on them to look at the ballots, definitely. I hope we don't need them in terms of the election itself. But for the ballots, I think so, because what's happening is incredible. I read today, where at least 1% of the ballots for 2016 were invalidated. They take them. We don't like them. We don't like them.
Are we past time now?
There are millions of ballots going out right now.
What you do is you go and vote. You do a solicited ballot, and that's okay, or you go and vote.
I'm asking you about the fact that millions of people
You go and vote. You go and vote.
But
like
what I'm
they,
saying is,
like
what are you
they
gonna
used
do about
to
the fact
in the
that
old.
millions of people.
You either do, Chris, a solicited ballot where you're sending it in, they're sending it back, and you're sending. They have mailmen with lots of it. Did you see what's going on? Take a look at West Virginia. Mailmen selling the ballots. They're being sold. They're being dumped in rivers. This is a horrible thing for our country. This is not going to end well.
No, there is. It's all over the news, Joe.
Had mail-in ballots for the last decade or more, 5, including 2 Republican states. And you don't have to solicit the ballot. It's sent to you.
It's like just Joe Biden lives in this, like, not watch the news, I guess.
By election day. If it doesn't get in till the 7th, 8th, 9th, it still should be counted. He's just afraid of counting the votes because he knows the outcome.
You're wrong.
I want to continue with you on this, Vice President Biden.
Chris, he's so wrong when he makes a statement like that.
Excuse me. Vice President Biden, the biggest problem, in fact, over the years with mail-in voting has not been fraud historically. It has been that sizable numbers, sometimes hundreds of thousands of ballots are thrown out because they have not been properly filled out, or there is some other irregularity, or they missed the deadline. So the question I have is, are you concerned that the Supreme Court with a Justice Barrett will settle any dispute?
I'm concerned that any court would settle this because here's the deal. When you file, you get a ballot and you fill it out, you're supposed to have an affidavit. If you didn't know, you have someone say that this is me. You should be able to, if in fact you can verify that's you before the ballot is thrown out, that's sufficient to be able to count the ballot because someone made a mistake and not dotting the correct I. Who they voted for, testify, say who they voted for, say it's you, that is totally legitimate.
All right.
Excuse me, Chris, when you have 80 million ballots sent in and swamping the system, you know it can't be done. You know it can't, and already there's been
fraud.
Now,
mail service delivers 185 million pieces of mail a day.
In 8 states, we can keep talking. In 8 states, election workers are prohibited, currently by law, 8 states, from even beginning to process ballots, even take them out of the envelopes and flatten them until Election Day. That means that it's likely, because there's going to be a huge increase in mail-in balloting, that we are not going to know on election night who the winner is, that it could be days, it could be weeks.
Could be months.
Until we find out who the new president is. So first for you, sir, finally for the vice president, I hope neither of you will interrupt the other. Will you urge your supporters to stay calm during this extended period, not to engage in any civil unrest? And will you pledge tonight that you will not declare victory until the election has been independently certified? President Trump, you go first.
I'm urging my supporters to go into the polls and watch very carefully, because that's what has to happen. I am urging them to do it. As you know, today there was a big problem. In Philadelphia, they went in to watch. They were called poll watchers, a very safe, very nice thing. They were thrown out. They weren't allowed to watch. You know why? Because bad things happen in Philadelphia, bad things. And I am urging my people. I hope it's going to be a fair election. If it's a fair election, I am 100% on board. But if I see tens of thousands of ballots being manipulated, I can't go along with that. And I'll tell you what, from a common sense,
does that mean you're going to tell your people to take to the street?
It means you have a fraudulent election. You're sending out 80 million ballots. They're not equipped to. These people aren't equipped to handle it. Number one. Number two, they cheat. They cheat. Hey, they found ballots in a waste paper basket 3 days ago, and they all had the name military ballots. They were military. They all had the name Trump on them.
Vice President Biden.
You think that's good?
Vice President Biden, final question for you. Will you urge your supporters to stay calm while the vote is counted, and will you pledge not to declare victory until the election is independently certified?
He was going to say the thing, but then he loses train of his thought. And he doesn't answer.
In some states can't even be.
He's thinking right now, but I'm.
And if there's thousands of ballots, it's going to take time to do it. And by the way, our military, they've been voting by ballots since the end of the Civil War, in effect. And that's what's going to happen.
Solicited ballot.
Why is it for them somehow not fraudulent? It's the same
I just don't get. It's like everything that Joe Biden says. Trump had already countered it, and he says it anyways.
In ballots, that somehow it's.
And if he can't really counter it, he just doesn't have.
Take a look at Carolyn Maloney's race in Manhattan.
You had an opportunity to respond.
Look at Carolyn Maloney.
Go ahead.
They have no idea what happened.
Vice President Biden, go ahead.
He has no idea what he's talking about. Here's the deal. The fact is, I will accept it, and he will too. You know why? Because once the winner is declared, after all the ballots are counted, all the votes are counted, That'll be the end of it. That'll be the end of it. And if it's me, in fact, fine. If it's not me, I'll support the outcome. And I'll be a president not just for the Democrats. I'll be a president for Democrats and Republicans.
Cool.
And this,
Joe Biden admits that he's going to lose the election.
Gentlemen, you say that's the end of it? This is the end of this debate?
Honest ballot count.
We're going to leave it there. To be continued as in more debates as we go on. President Trump, Vice President Biden, it's been an interesting hour and a half. I want to thank you both for participating in the first of 3 debates that you have agreed to engage in. We want to thank Case Western Reserve University and the Cleveland Clinic for hosting this event. The next debate, sponsored by the Commission on Presidential Debates, will be 1 week from tomorrow, October 7th, at the University of Utah in Salt Lake City. The 2 vice presidential nominees, Vice President Mike Pence and Senator Kamala Harris, will debate.
Chris Wallace is an awful moderator. So here's the thing. You don't need color. You don't put assertions in your questions. You just ask the question, okay? And if the candidates want to interject, like, the thing is Joe Biden saying something Donald Trump doesn't agree with. He says, wrong, that's wrong, and he interjects with like a quick sentence or two. Like, forget about it. Nobody cares. This has been the way the debates have been for a long time, and nobody cares. Chris Wallace cared more about his control over the debate than he did about running a good debate. You know what I mean? And it is just, this is why I bring up the way that Chris Wallace asks the questions. He spends like a minute asking the question in some of these cases. It should never be like that. The question is like 1 sentence. The question should be 1 sentence. Okay, that's the first thing. Okay. Second thing is that if the candidates get into something serious, like the Hunter Biden thing, you don't shush them up. It really felt like Chris Wallace was trying to prevent Donald Trump from getting significant points out at many important points. So the right is just going to eviscerate Chris Wallace. They're going to hate him. Chris Wallace is now the most hated man on Fox News. No question. No, we don't want to see this lady. Good grief. My least favorite commercial. Futures readjusting. Well, they're probably, people are going to take their profits here, right? I mean, it came back a little bit. Clearly, though, the people trading during the debate thought it was favoring Donald Trump. I don't know. So we talked about the moderator. Let's talk about Joe Biden's response to a lot of things. I felt that almost every time that Donald Trump was hitting Joe Biden on a serious issue, like that his son made millions of dollars. He did, by the way. We see these, oh man, is it going to go all the way back? Let's see what it does. Probably a number of guys are going to do stuff. Anyways, and he would just say it's not true. It's not true. Like, it's good. The fact checks tomorrow are going to be really interesting because the fact check is going to be like, we rate this claim false. Hunter Biden received $3.5 billion, but it's misleading. And like this is what it's going to be like tomorrow. You all know what's going to be, right? I can't thank you enough waking me up to follow this on live. Oh. Thanks. I don't know if you should be thanking me. Okay, they're selling off that move that they made. It looks like that the traders are just taking profits on this one. I don't know if that move matters. Anyways, so I thought that Joe Biden's answers on a number of things were weak. Also, Joe Biden's answer on law and order was pathetic. Probably his lowest point of the debate is he's like, oh, I've got people following me. And Donald Trump says, oh, really? Who? Name them. And he can't, we don't have time for this. So he refused to do it. Okay. Now, for Donald Trump's point, I'm noticing a couple of times where he gets a point and you can see where he's going, but then like he will lose train and he never actually makes the main point that they want him to. For instance, they say, condemn white supremacists. And he says, sure, I will. Who do you want me to condemn here? The Proud Boys? Okay, the Proud Boys, back off. He said that. And everybody on Twitter is saying, oh, Donald Trump refused to condemn white supremacy. Which is like, what? That is not what happened in that exchange. But you can see he doesn't do enough. The people that aren't with him, he never says the thing that they need to hear to really upset their bubble. You know what I mean? It's assumed. It's lost in the jumble. Also, he was extremely combative, especially at the first, and he was really combative on things that I really didn't feel like he needed to be, and that's not going to help. The problem is that his base, or not his base, but the people that he kind of has to convince to come over, are like those white suburban moms, right? And having a debate where all they do is argue, well, not where all they do is argue, but I mean where it's like constant interruptions and just like the whole time, like Donald Trump supporters, they love that, but the people that he needs to get on board aren't. They don't like that at all. So I don't know how it actually ultimately comes out. In the end, the market clearly felt that Donald Trump did well during that debate. Like the quick reactions were that he did well. And the futures, they're taking profits right now. I wouldn't be surprised if they slowly made that back. But we'll see what this spin room does. What do you guys think? Got anything you want to ask about or interject on before we decide to shut things down and go to sleep? Biden has his shining at the end. Well, so the thing that Joe Biden is doing well, I think, for his supporters is making this thing like, all you have to do is vote for me and the bad man goes away, sort of a thing. I think it's a ridiculous thing to say, but you know what? They're going to love that. They're going to eat that up. And they're all mad that he didn't follow the rules. Donald Trump didn't follow the rules. Well, this was a disgrace, and it was primarily because of Donald Trump. Later says the other person who fucked up was Wallace. Wallace was really just such a terrible moderator, man. But we all agree it was fun. There was some parts there that I was like, what? I almost like sitting there thinking about it. I almost don't even remember that now. There was a couple of points where I really couldn't believe. The one that was the funniest was when Joe Biden was like, we don't have time for this. When he couldn't answer who was a law enforcement agency that supported him. That was hilarious. Stephen King thinks that the moderators should have power to cut the mics. There's no way that the campaigns would agree to that. You just need to have a moderator that's not trying to run shit. Okay, so now the market is selling, has been able to push through the whole thing, and it is now going sell side. And let's see, in trade might be, let's see here. I mean, you're going to get a lot of back and forth, but I think that the Bears are having their say now. Okay. Well, I have it at 60 right now. That can't be. I'm not getting a change yet. Must need more time here. I have somebody showing a picture of one place where Joe Biden is rising in probability and Trump is losing, but I don't know if that's what's going on. It did come back. I mean, it is basically coming back to where we were when we started, right? We started right here. 19. Yeah. They're not below yesterday's close, though. Or, I guess, last session's close. What the hell is going on right now with the NQ? Well, is the NQ probably moving a lot more than the ES, huh? I'm too lazy to pull it up, man. Lots of people coming in. Tell me what you guys thought. What did you think? Do you think that Donald Trump's combativeness was too much? Is there going to be a second engagement tomorrow? No. So there's another debate. There's a vice presidential debate next week. And then there's another presidential debate the week after that. So. Lots of hot takes that I don't think make sense. Not one vote will be changed because of this debate between Trump and Chris Wallace tonight. And that was the other thing, was making this assertion in his question and then debating with Donald Trump over it. That really is the key point where you look at this like Chris Wallace screwed up, right? I have to tell Facebook, that they're wrong. Let's see here. See, all of these guys on the left are just saying, "Oh, Donald Trump lied about all these things," but there's a lot of things that he like. The thing is, he brings up story after story after story, and they just say that that's a lie, but it's not a lie. Like the Hunter Biden thing is like, is it not a fact that Hunter? Are you saying that Hunter Biden is poor and destitute? Come on, this guy's made millions of dollars, and he made money at Burisma. He did. It's a fact. Joe Biden trying to pretend like it's a lie is just laughable, frankly. I think that what's going to happen tomorrow is Donald Trump is going to go full bore Burisma. That's what I would be doing, because he handled that so poorly. Like Biden handled that so poorly. It really rattled him. I'm just waiting to see here if I get anything more. Or just watch the markets here. They came down. That seems to be like the positions coming off. So let's just see if it balances or if there's another move. I wasn't sure if that was a push down or not. Predicted doesn't seem to be moving. I don't know why it still lists here. So that's funny. It looks like Trump is getting less by a few cents over the past few days. But it's still, 45.60. That's interesting. Okay, then now it's still kind of flipping around here, man. I keep seeing this thing that like Donald Trump didn't dismiss white supremacy, but he did. Like, I don't. Man, like people did not see the same thing. He said, "Sure." He said, "Will you? Do you condemn these people?" And he said, "Sure. Who is it? Who do you want me to condemn specifically?" And they said, "The Proud Boys." And so he said, "The Proud Boys need to stand down." And like I said, they very clearly. Donald Trump did not want Chris Wallace to moderate. Who was like specifically asked that he not be put on. When was this? Oh, he was saying he did in response to me saying that the Yemeni thinks that Trump won this debate, and they're saying yes, he did. I feel like I'm missing a tab here. Oh yes, no, we're fine. We're fine. Z Temples was, how can people complain about the debate? It was epic, like WWE, but politics, so we can pretend it actually matters. Ari Fletcher, he matters. This debate was a train wreck mess that isn't good for our country. The president interrupted too much. Biden returned the fire, and neither candidate came across well. Both should knock it off in time for the next debate. Debates should air differences, not be food fights. John Favreau, Trump was also nasty and crazy towards Hillary in the 2016 debates, but he had a discernible message on being an outsider, on immigration, on corruption. There was absolutely no argument from Trump tonight. Well, I think that if there was anything that was coming through, it was like he feels like he's been mistreated, which isn't really a debate, which really isn't a political strategy, is it? I don't know. Like when I think about, okay, Donald Trump, what does he need to get done in this debate? I mean, there's things here and there, but I don't really see an overarching stress in the. Okay, so now there was a slight drop again. It wasn't on super heavy volume, a few hundred contracts. Low of the session, though. Post-debate spin by Republican analyst. Trump clearly felt aggrieved about how he's been treated the last 4 years and came into the debate hot. Yeah. But, like, how is that? That's not like a campaign strategy. Like turning around and saying, I've been so mistreated all these years, I don't know if that's really going to get people to vote for you. His strategy should be threefold. Get more African American and Latino voters on his side. Hit on Burisma. Show Joe Biden to be not all there. Was he able to? And that one was probably number one that the Donald Trump supporters were looking for. And did he do that? I don't think he did. I don't think he did. And really, he just gave a lot of fuel to the arguments that have been effective against him. That he's divisive and immature and all of this stuff, right? What platform are you using? So the DOMs that you're looking at here, the main part of it is Jigsaw. I have a video on my channel called "What is the best futures trading software platform?" Where I talk about it. I have an affiliate link if you want to buy Jigsaw. I also use NinjaTrader. I have some indicators for NinjaTrader that I've written that we're going to make available to you guys if you subscribe to the channel. So, yeah. Let's see here. What's this guy saying? The Biden campaign has to realize that this debate went so poorly for Donald Trump that the argument that not debating Trump again is a sign of weakness is gone, as no one who watched tonight would ever subject themselves to that situation a second time. And everyone knows that. You're wrong. You're skipping out on a debate would be a disaster. Even if Donald Trump did do as poorly as people on the left think that he did. Joe Biden didn't win the debate. He didn't even debate. Every time President Trump tried to debate him one-on-one, he started rambling, and Wallace tried to save him, lol. Only one candidate looked strong enough to stand up to America's enemies. That is President Trump. This is clearly a Donald Trump supporter. Trump refused to condemn white supremacists. He refused to condemn. That is not what happened. Man, at least people like watch, not listening. I just don't understand. This is such bullshit. This is like what a lie. It's just a straight up like the Daily Beast article about it. Like he said sure, but then he said, but this is a left-wing problem. He's right. It was like, honestly, the whole question is really quite unfair. Why is it that he's being asked? Joe Biden didn't condemn Antifa. He thinks Antifa doesn't exist. See, who's Chuck Woolery. I know I've seen him before. Okay, yeah, he's a conservative guy. The most interesting thing was watching him reveal his bias for all to see. Did you see what I saw? Trump wins the debate with Wallace and Biden. That's how I felt. I felt like that Wallace clearly had an agenda. Well, not clearly had an agenda. I think Wallace was trying his best. I think he was trying his best, but clearly his bias, was coming through. See, here's Giuliani. If the crooked press is at all fair, Trump dominated this debate. He showed he's a vigorous, tough, and articulate leader who's not going to let the biased moderator push him around. He will not let anyone push around the USA. Well, that's one way to go at. Chris Wallace lost. Like nobody likes Chris Wallace here. Nobody on either side. Sunday driver, there you are. I'm just reading the tweets now. I'm reading the spin. Some people saying Joe Biden came third place in tonight's debate. That's Dan Bonjingo. I don't know how to say that guy's name. He's a very pro Donald Trump guy. Okay, now they are starting to push to the open. that could still that still has signs to me of just balancing it back out. That's all. The day traders pushed in with market orders, it appears, and now they're all dumping. Silly. It just looks like a bunch of guys that aren't, just kind of being impulsive. Evan McMullen, I don't even get to read that guy. Can't stand that man. James Wood, interesting that a person who's not a Trump supporter gives a sober and damning assessment of the appalling bias by Democrat Party fluffer Chris Wallace. It was truly shameless. I am no Trump fan. His personality bugs me, but I give Trump some slack because it was 2 against 1 scenario tonight, and I'm less annoyed by Donald Trump's interruptions than I am by the craven and biased display by Chris Wallace, which was the Dem candidate anyways, Wallace or Biden. Yeah, Hillary Clinton was outed as a mastermind behind the Russian collusion hoax today, and Chris Wallace didn't think he needed to ask Joe Biden how it all happened while he was vice president, right? When he tried to get into it, they tried to get into it, Chris Wallace changed the subject. It was like on the October surprise level stuff. He didn't want to talk about it. The Russiagate, coup, fake impeachment, so many things against Trump. The debate topics were too numerous. There should have been fewer topics. So many arrows at rate. I really like. The thing is that Chris Wallace picked the topics. He picked the questions and everything. I just thought that he was so bad. Like, you spent all this time trying to lay out these questions. This is like, if you're laying out the more time that you're talking, the more time that you have to bias the debate. He should never moderate another debate again. I don't think that anybody will ever ask him to. Certainly not between, no Republican is going to agree to that now. Nah, I keep seeing all of these Nimrods on. I call them Nimrods. I'm seeing a lot of clueless people on Twitter saying, just cut the mic off. No. The campaigns have to agree to the rules of the debate, and no candidate is going to agree that a moderator can just cut them off. There is no way that would ever be allowed. Absolutely not. Never going to happen. Trump was so wound up that he lost his focus and sprayed his invectives everywhere. Yeah, he needed an Adderall, man. Trump needed to take some Adderall. Because he was so impulsive. There was so many times where he had it. Easy question. He's going into it. And then he goes off onto a completely different subject. It's very clear that Donald Trump has ADHD. Something that I find curious, though, is that the Donald Trump supporters don't seem to think that Donald Trump lost the debate, but they don't seem to think that he's going to win anymore. They seem to be seeing the polls and thinking that it doesn't look very good, and that the debate didn't really, Joe Biden didn't completely implode. Jake Tapper, I thought Joe Biden was flat in the debate. I agree. But is that really factor. Is that really going to flavor people's opinions? I don't know. Like when the post-debate polling comes out of this, I don't think that it's going to be positive for Donald Trump. I don't know if it like actually impacts the end run thing, but Trump needed Biden to bleed out his eyes. Yeah, like he needed Biden to like have an aneurysm on stage, right? Former Vice President Joe Biden claimed during the first presidential debate that he did not call members of the military stupid bastards. Verdict false. From Breitbart News. That's correct. Like, that was the other thing, is that Joe Biden said so many things in there that were just so obviously, clearly wrong. To me, I don't really know how other people look at him, because when I hear it, I'm like, well, I know that that's not true. Like, especially, claiming that everything about Hunter Biden has been debunked and everything is just so dishonest. So dishonest, frankly. He just says, and then when Donald Trump has like good points and brings things up, he says, "Oh, you're just lying." But they don't actually say, "Well, this is really what happened, and this is why it's a lie." And they don't. They just say they use a lie, and I don't know. People don't get it. You can't cut the mics. The campaigns have to agree to it, and they'll never do that. See, the people on the left, they're not happy about it either. Tom Fitton says, I'd be happy to moderate the next presidential debate. I would do it. Listen, I know how to do it. Okay, let's go back. What was the first question? It was like, here's what this guy thinks, and here's what this guy thinks. Nah, you don't need to set it all up. Okay, the first question is for Joe Biden. Will you pack the Supreme Court? You said that you will pack the Supreme Court. Will you pack the Supreme Court? That should have been the question. That would be the hard-hitting question and Joe Biden didn't want to answer it. He refused to answer it. Okay. Made this point. Okay. Donald Trump, why do you think that you should be able to confirm a Supreme Court nominee? That's it. That's all you got to do. And here's Chris Wallace droning on for like a minute. Well, this guy, blah, 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 and the blah, 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 considering the blah, 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 blah. So if you could answer that. It's not even a direct question. Like that shit works when you're putting together an interview like with one person, but it's not a debate format. I'm sorry. Just got here, as Dana Bash said on CNN Live. What a shit show. Well, they were sure were willing to go into it right from the beginning, weren't they? I think that Donald Trump was too aggressive. Joe Biden got away with a lot of false comments, like that the media feels like the fine people. Yeah. Calling the media losers. That one's true. Well, Donald Trump did address that one, said that it was false. You're right, though, that they didn't get to address the fine people thing. And they cut Donald Trump off when they were asking him to condemn white supremacy. That's the one that I think is the craziest, is that he was like, he's saying they didn't even let him answer the question. And then everybody says that he didn't do it, but he did. He said, sure. Are you willing to condemn? And he says, sure. And they say it. And he says, sure. Who do you want me to condemn now? He said that. Like, how is that not clear what he's saying? I don't get it. And then they say, oh, the Proud Boys. Okay, the Proud Boys, you guys need to stand down. Them saying it's just it's so ridiculous. Like, it's straight up gaslighting, lying about what happened in the debate, frankly, is how I view it. Mike Wallace, I'm sure you meant to type a W there. I thought he was a real joke. I mean, you know what? Here's the thing, is that Donald Trump supporters had been talking about this. That Donald Trump had a list of people that he was willing to have to have in the debate. And then there was people that he specifically said cannot be moderators. And Chris Wallace was at the top of the list. And who did the Presidential Commission on Presidential Debates pick? Chris Wallace. And the campaign is going to be blood now. They're not going to be happy about that. And there's going to be very, very specific rules that they're going to require about what the debate moderator can and cannot do, because he was trying to argue with Donald Trump. He made an assertion in the question that was unfair, and Donald Trump hit the question. He can do that. And then Wallace tried to argue with him about it. That is just... You think market going down for the next month? I really think what we've seen here so far is just rebalancing. Yeah, come back and look at it, right? Okay. So first of all, I gotta really zoom in here. Okay. So here's where the debate started. Let me get out my pen here. Gotta do real analysis here. None of this political no. Just kidding. We're like grumpy old men. Yeah. Okay. So the debate started here. Okay. Not even 15 minutes or so into the debate, Hunter Biden gets brought up. There's this move, and then there's this move. Now look at the cumulative delta. These guys aren't taking them with limited orders, right? So you can actually see the number of shorts increase, but yeah. They took it all with market orders. But then you can see here, look, it pretty much came back. So, and especially when you look at the cumulative delta, right? Really close. So this was just, they all got in, and then the liquidity disappeared, and so they came down. So this may still just be balancing out. Now, if in the overnight session they take it again another step, like let's say that they go for these overnight lows, then I'm starting to wonder, okay, so was it the case that the guys that were trading during the debate thought that Donald Trump was winning, but then when they take a step back and look at it, they realize that it really wasn't that good for Donald Trump, and so they're concerned? You know what I mean? Everybody on the left is just, we're so embarrassed. It's politics. Come on. The only thing embarrassing was Chris Wallace trying to, debate with Donald Trump. Ask the question. Ask an unbiased question. Don't do a setup. Just ask the question. And then be done with it. Wallace got too involved. All right, well, First Squawk's got the poll out here now. Wallace totally interrupted Donald J. Trump. Yeah, on multiple occasions. I mean, the thing is I don't understand. We're not being shown the timer, right? So, I don't know. Here's another thing that really bothers me. 2 minutes. 2 minutes, not enough. Less questions, let them go longer. Because there was numerous times where they were really starting to get into it. And they were bringing up issues that I think that they should talk about. And Wallace cut it off. Disgraceful, in my opinion. Yeah, let them get into it. So 2 minutes was way too short. I'm hesitant to sit down and say what, because my first thought is, what idiot's idea was it for them to only be 2 minutes? Like, they were giving them 2-minute answers when it was a Democrat debate, and there was like 20 of them, right? But how common is that for presidential debates? I'm not sure. This just seems really weird to me. I'm just in shock at how Trump was able to tweet telepathically during the debate. That's all Joe could handle. Well, it makes you wonder what this whole thing was about. They need 30-minute breaks and all that bullshit. Probably just trying to play into Donald Trump's fears. Drug test Chris Wallace. This guy. I wonder if I can get into the Donald now. Will you shut up, man? Of course not. Good grief. MSNBC is saying that Trump was doing his best to delegitimize the entire election process along with the debate itself. This is a narrative control thing, right? They're saying Donald Trump's going to lose, and even he knows it, and that's why. I don't think so. Trump didn't prepare properly, so much he left out. I think you're probably right. I think you're probably right on that one, live action. You know what I think? I think that in the past he's probably taken Adderall, and this time because they wanted to do the drug test thing, he didn't take Adderall. I really think that because he would lose his train of he was getting into it. It was like, here's an important point. No, hold on, let me get into my point. And then he goes off on some bullshit nobody cares about. He's like, here's the thing, and then he gets to the next thing, and he goes into the wrong thing. It was totally ADHD to the max, for sure. Oh, yeah, and there's definitely the thing that bothered me the most was when Joe Biden lied about the election meddling stuff. Like, you're right. There's like video. There are multiple news stories. Donald Trump cited a ton of stuff. Okay. Like ballots being thrown in the trash. People paying for ballots. This whole thing in Minnesota with Omar. Now there's an election fraud investigation in Texas. And Joe Biden just said, there's no evidence of that. It's all lies. Like, what? Gaslighting. Does he really think that? He must know. He must be watching the news and seeing all of this. It's total lies. So I'm still not seeing the overnight action hitting a point to where we're for sure like new positions or anything, but plus there's kind of a technical thing. There was a little bit of absorption there down at the bottom. You can see them trying to pick it up there. Omar should be investigated. Well, they are investigating it as I understand. Last two incumbents had terrible first debates. The vaunted Obama was awful versus Rooney. Actually, Retan was back. A4 was horrible first debate. True, Romney kicked Obama's butt in the second debate. Well, the thing that was crazy was Donald Trump won the second debate too, but the moderator cock-blocked him too. The difference in that one was that Romney just kind of sat there and took it. The moderator came in and said shit that wasn't true. Yeah. I felt that Romney won all of the debates. It didn't matter. The 54% thing hurt him too much, and the hurricane came in at the last second. And you know what? Mitt Romney wasn't the president that we needed. If God wanted Mitt Romney to have been president, he would have done it. He would have done it. I know this is probably heresy to some of my fellow Republicans, but if God wanted Mitt Romney to have been president, then Mitt Romney could have done it. But he didn't. Mitt Romney screwed up. He screwed up because ultimately he didn't have what it takes to be president. He's a cock. If I pardon my language. But he was only there to support the moneyed interests. The reality was the reason that Mitt Romney lost was the right reason, because he really didn't have the intention of the regular person in mind. And how do we know that? Because when Donald Trump started to become the Republican nominee, every single policy piece in Mitt Romney's platform that would help regular working people or exactly the things that he criticized about Donald Trump. So you would know that the whole thing was just bullshit. He was just saying it because his political advisors told him to. So yeah. Mitt Romney lost. It wasn't that Obama won. Mitt Romney lost. Do you think the debate is going to change minds? So here's the thing about that. The problem isn't that debates change minds. The problem is that the debate changes the field. Do you get what I mean? Think about it. After today, what is the argument? The argument is that Donald Trump is too divisive. The people that are voting for Joe Biden are voting for him because they just don't want to deal with Donald Trump anymore. Right? So it changes the whole field. And I'm concerned that the way that it could potentially, at least the way that the narrative is going right now, that is not beneficial to Donald Trump, because he needs those white suburban moms, man. That's the problem. He needs those white suburban moms. So, and you will see it in the polling, by the way. If I'm right, you will see it in the polling. But I don't know, man. I don't know, man. He got some good hits on Biden and all that, but I don't think like nobody's going to show those on the news. I've always said that Biden would cancel the second and third. I have you on the record so that when they happen, I can berate you endlessly about how wrong you were. I see a lot of people on Twitter saying the same thing. Oh, Joe Biden should just refuse to do that. That would be a disaster. Nobody's ever skipped a debate like that. It would be a disaster. Trump needs to corner Joe on that he will raise taxes. That was a good point. There's a good point, RJ. It got brought up, but Donald Trump wasn't really able to pin it on him, was it? How has Donald J. Trump helped the working class man and women? Okay, so first of all, he's created a very, very strong economy, and he has reduced the taxes in a way that has been very favorable to small businesses. So, for instance, we've seen more black small businesses created during Donald Trump's term in office than we've ever seen before. He's tried at least to, bring jobs back from China and stuff like that. I don't know if he's ultimately done as good of a job as could be done. But that is a battle that you couldn't expect to be taken care of in one president's term, right? I really hope that whoever gets elected continues that fight with China. The thing that concerns me the most is that it seems to me like Joe Biden has just let them do whatever they want. And then you're back to square one. All of the moneyed interest have at the moment now, it's like after the pandemic, maybe we could deal with it. But now Joe Biden wins. Get used to getting, rammed by China. Because China's power around the world is only going to increase. He got Biden to say corporate tax is going to 28%. Trump needs to get him to admit personal taxes will increase, green carbon tax, income taxes, etc. Yeah, well, he said you're going to raise all of you. I mean, he said that. He didn't So the thing is, there was Donald Trump was spewing out stuff everywhere. He said all of this stuff at least once, but it was never focused on. You know what I mean? That's where I'm like, was there a strategy? Because I didn't see it. He couldn't. Wallace kept interrupting. Yeah. Ford is going to win majority. Wait. Who the hell are you talking about? Okay, they're selling it a little bit more now. Now they're going to go for that low? Go for that overnight low? Well, markets can be wrong about things like this, but that right there kind of makes you now you kind of have to question, is that the market, the guys during the debate said one thing, but the guys after the debate are very clearly think something else. Here's another problem that I have is that I'm not so sure that second and third debates matter as much this time around. Used to be that I was always like, okay, here's the debate. Now here's the stage, and we want to see what happens in the next debate because that could be important. This one, who gives a fuck? It'll probably just be another shit show. Is anybody going to change their mind off of that? Nobody's going to be happy in the end. All this. It's very sad. Okay, well, it's 9:30, so it's time for me to go to bed, guys. So I will see you guys bright and early tomorrow morning. And in the meantime, stay profitable, friends.